We're doing it in the Path of Exile 2, right? It's PoE2 announcement. And all of that not being able to recycle achieves is just I had to farm more.
Yeah, okay,
So,
dude. Yeah.
This just means I farm less.
I didn't know the announcement was happening.
So it means that instead of being able to do bone mass like in the first hour of tomorrow's stream, I would have to do it like 10 hours in my next
yeah, I
stream.
know.
It's unlucky. That's unlucky. Bro. It is what it is. It is what it is. Let's just go grab this modem real quick. What's it called? Instantly. Well, let's just grab this real fast, yeah. Grab that one. Get up to 39 mods. Nice. You love to see it. You love to go grab that. Oh, we got drops info, dude. Pen. Look at that. Just take that shit. Drop info. Knock. Should I knock with GG and let them know I want to collaborate? Oh, I didn't put drops in the title, guys. Drops. Just drop with the Z a bit too hard. Maybe all caps. We got all caps, exclamation point drops. Then when you type exclamation point drops, it just bans you, which is so good. I love that. Let's just confirm. Let's just open up the. So this, whenever they do all the drops, you do this. You click here, and you just type path, and then enabled check. What is it? Executioner's finisher. Executioner's finisher. Cool. It's a finisher effect about this drop. Wow. It's a fucking drop, guys. Sick. It's pretty good. What does it look like? Is there a video? Do I have to click here or what? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. You get a fucking big-ass thing. That drops down. Cool. Cool stuff, guys. Yeah, we get drops anyway, guys. All right. Path of Exile. Are they doing it just on Twitch? I'm guessing they're doing it just on Twitch. Let's go full screen. We'll have the chat up for now. We are gonna go F11. Get it like that. Get a nice one. Yeah, like this. Alright, the announcement is in whatever, 13 minutes. You can see it there. I'm gonna get coffee. And I'm gonna buy a plan. You should do the same, chat. Oh, run Giga ads now, so that way they get no ads, and then just pause the ads. How do I do that? I don't know how to even do it. I don't know how to do it. Hey. Oh, Simizi's already done it. Okay. King. Hey. King. I'll be right back, Jake. You pause already. It's about to go down. Are you guys pocket out for the 0.2? Not a league, but it is a league. I'll be honest, I'm not. It's weird. PoE2 doesn't feel out yet. It's weird that they're doing a league. I want to see crazy improvements to the end game. I want to see end game significant shit that really fixes it and makes it more engaging. All right, I'll be right back. All right.
Before bad, before dog shit, before this game ever made games made by death. They've never played an RPG in their life. Before bad, before dog shit, before this game ever made. How could you mess it up? This bad, lost game along just the other day. Came to the world in the usual way. There were things to move, a game to play, until that box got in the way. Yet, you cannot grab the box. I try to grab the box lid every time. You cannot grab the box. There's clearly some other way, some other thing that I'm missing here. I literally pulled it multiple times. You fucking low on gas. That's the first thing I did. The intuitive thing. When I got there, I tried it like 3 times. You're like, oh, that's the definition of insanity. Trying to do the same thing again. Look, I walk up to the box. I press grab. This game's fucking dog shit. This game's dog shit. The game is dog shit. There's some sort of bug that would get me every time I try to grab the box. You cannot grab the box. I tried to grab the box literally every time. You cannot grab the box. There's clearly some other way, some other thing that I'm missing here. I literally pulled it multiples. You're fucking low on tracks. That's the first thing I did. The intuitive thing when I got there. I tried it like 3 times. You're like, oh, that's the definition of insanity. Trying to do the same thing again. Look, I walk up to the box. I press grab. This game's fucking dog shit. This game's dog shit. The game is dog shit. There's some sort of bug that would get me every time I try to grab the box. There's some sort of bug that would get me every time I try to grab the box. Look, I walk up to the box. I press grab. This game's fucking dog shit. This game's dog shit. The game is dog shit. There's some sort of bug that might get me every time I try to grab the box.
One hot, one cold. Which one's gonna whole bit of you reckon? The cold one or the hot one? I drink the cold one second. Wait. Yeah, I like them watered down. I like them watered down. I did put cold water on it. The cold one looks nasty. Wait, really? You think that looks nasty? I'll taste it right now. Tastes amazing. Bro, I did not think a water softener would make that much of a difference, but it tastes significantly better. This is the first cold coffee I've had since I've, you can really taste the cold coffees more, I feel like. Oh, you gotta say, I had some of the hardest water you've ever seen. My water was so hard that you could literally see the lime in the... I mean, you guys have seen what my kettle looks like, right? That's some of the hardest water out. All right, get your bog jam ready, boys. Okay, so what do I want? What do I want, chat? What do I want? I want... Let me just make sure everything's turned off, by the way. Turn off all channel points. CP off. TTS paused. And then make my camera a bit smaller. I want significant in-game changes. Like, as in more... crafting options. More diversity. Just all around, just changes to make just in-game. It doesn't feel as good. The in-game just doesn't feel as good as PoE1 in-game, right? That's what I'm looking for. I'm not the one who should be cooking though. They're the ones. They're the chefs. They're cooking in the kitchen. I'm hoping they're gonna blow my mind with some new crazy in-game shit that we've never seen before. That's like, you know, really lives up to the PoE2 ideal. Atlas changes. Oh yeah, I definitely Atlas changes would be nice. I mean, yeah, in game. I'm all about in game. I really don't. Obviously, I'm expecting balances, but I don't really care. I don't want them to go through the balance changes. They can just put it in the patch notes. Like balancing for sure. Maybe even the way that the abilities work. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some sort of change to the way abilities even work. You know, the whole fucking thing where, like, the weapons kind of cuck you super hard to abilities where you kind of like a mace build, where you have to use Hammer of the Gods. You know, these things. Maybe some sort of significant change there. I'm looking for some large changes after getting all that feedback. Delete Herald of Ice. Let me get that now. Get your bog chaps ready! Get them ready! Get them ready! Get them ready! Get them ready! My bog champs are getting ready. Oh shit. Side down maintenance, 30 seconds. 30 seconds, where are we at? What's this shit at? What's everyone chat doing that? They're all typing log in. Go, 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 go. I'm joking it right now. Praying for something good. Lee 2 can. Okay. Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Welcome to GGG Live. Well, it's been a little over 3 months since we launched Early Access, so it's about time for our first major content update. Today, we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, which launches on April 4th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's livestream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Executioner's Guillotine finisher effect. Now in today's stream, we're going to take you on a deep dive into the new Dawn of the Hunt update. We'll cover a new class, 5 new Ascendancy classes, and huge expansions on character systems like unique items and support gems. After that, it's on to the in-game improvements, including changes to systems,
what I wanna hear.
a bunch of new encounters, and lots of other content. We're going to finish up today with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile 2's game directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. Now, we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started with a trailer for Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt.
We as Mary are guided by the Spirit. It provides prey, shelter, even love.
You wee lass.
But for me, one day, all that were changed. The Spirit, it showed me something. Something forbidden. And to defend all I loved, I used it. I lost everything that day. But fate weren't finished with me yet. I'll right the wrongs I've done. I'll do what I must, no matter the cost. I will hear the Spirit once more.
Oh shit, what was that attack? That shit looks like Diablo 4, bro. But better. Oh, he's on the mount, bro. Oh, the D4 guys are going crazy for this. Can I see him on the mount? God damn. That's Marion Wisps. Oh, it's Spirit One. It's time to make me kill you. Rogue Exiles!
I shall bathe in your blood.
100 plus blood gems? Hell yeah, brother. 100 new uniques! New in-game mechanics, that's what I want to see. Maps and much more. Oh, we're gonna have to go frame by frame later. We're gonna have to go frame by frame, boys. Yeah, I saw Calandra in there, bro. There was a Calandra League in there, bro. What's that about? We're gonna have to deep dive that, boys. Wait, is Pee-wee's patch only a week away?
Now, as you can see, in Dawn of the Hunt, we're introducing the first new class since early access to PoE 2, the Huntress. The Huntress is a spear-wielding Asmeri warrior. Born into a society with strict traditions, she was exiled from her homeland after using the power of a skill gem to defend her village. As a dexterous spear user, she specializes in both melee and ranged combat, dashing into and out of battle.
Life is wrong with the skill
Spears have extended range and a short dash, but unlike other melee weapons, you can also throw them. In order to make a hybrid ranged and melee character work, we had to do a lot of thinking about ways to make it fun to both enter and exit
Keep
melee
parrying,
range.
bro? What was that?
The first skill you will get as a Huntress is Whirling Slash. As well as striking in a circle around you, this skill creates a whirlwind that blinds your enemies. Leaving the whirlwind will make it explode.
It's like Blade Storm.
The more Whirling Slash is used, the bigger the whirlwind, and the bigger the explosion. Once you're out of there, you'll want to follow up with something ranged. Whip your spear around to shoot twisters towards your foes. These twisters bounce off walls and can hit enemies multiple times. You can also throw twisters inside a whirlwind to shoot out extra tornadoes that do way more damage.
Oh, those crystals look nice.
In her offhand, the Huntress will usually want to hold a buckler,
Parry,
which
bro.
allows you to do a new skill, Parry. While holding down Parry, your character will counterattack any incoming attack from monsters near you,
Holding it
stunning them.
down?
In addition, the monsters will take extra attack damage from your follow-up strike. Some specific skills are designed to be used after a parry and have extra effects. Disengage is a skill that does a quick jump back, damaging enemies in front of you, and it can be used to interrupt other actions, like dodge roll. If you use it against a parried enemy though, it causes an explosion and gives you a frenzy charge. Just be careful. If you parry too much, you're going to get stunned and possibly killed. You can combine this combo with Whirling Slash. Slash, parry, disengage, and you'll get an explosion from the disengage and the Whirling Slash.
Double explosion.
The Huntress also has a variety of elemental spear throw attacks. You could use Lightning Spear to bounce lightning between your foes. Or you could throw explosive spears into the ground. These spears take a while to detonate, but when they do, they'll incinerate anyone caught in the blast. All spear throws on the Huntress can also be empowered by frenzy charges. For example, explosive spears will do an even larger explosion and leave fire on the ground. And these empowered versions can activate even more combos. Using Whirling Slash over ground fire will suck it into the whirlwind, adding fire to the explosion.
That's cool.
Using twisters inside a fire whirlwind will shoot out fire tornadoes as well.
Okay.
And you can do similar combos with ice
What, lightning?
and lightning too.
Yep, okay. I get it. That's cool.
Now, a key aspect of hunting is exhausting your foes by causing blood loss. This skill is Rake, which dashes towards your target and unleashes a deadly slash, opening up wounds on your enemies.
We're doing a rake build, boys.
Follow up with Disengage and watch them bleed out as they run towards you.
Rake parry.
On the health bar of monsters, you can see how much blood loss the enemy has experienced, and the Huntress has skills to take advantage of this. For example, using Blood Hunt will thrust forward and cause a bloody explosion. The more blood loss, the bigger the explosion. If you want to cause bigger bleeds, try out Rapid Assault. The final hit of this multi-hit combo will stick a spear into your enemy for a big bleed.
How much?
Now, Explosive Spear and Rapid Assault both result in leaving spears behind, either in the ground or in enemies. But there are other skills that leave spears around too, like Storm Lance, that leaves an electrical spear that arcs towards enemies. But what can you do with all these spears? Detonate them, of course. Thunderous Leap will allow you to jump onto and explode any spears either in the ground or in your enemies. Now, as well as hunting animals, the Huntress also has the ability to work with them. While fighting any beast, you have the ability to tame it and use it as a companion.
What?
You can only have one companion at a time, but it will keep the mods that were on it.
That's
Try to find a rare
sick.
beast with good mods to take full advantage of your ability to tame them.
Fuck? That's cool, bro. A bleed companion.
Now, this is just the
build,
beginning
bro.
of the Huntress.
dog
We've really
tamer
tried to
build.
make the hybrid ranged and melee gameplay work for this class by having a huge amount of synergy between ranged and melee options. There are 22 new skills available for the Huntress. By endgame, you'll be slinging hundreds of insanely powerful spears, sending forth spirit animals and summoning the might of Solaris from the sky.
What the fuck?
But we still haven't
That's
talked about
ultimate.
ascendancy classes yet. What can the Huntress ascend into? Well, the first ascension class you could choose is the Ritualist. The Ritualist has embraced the darker side of his merry traditions by harnessing the power of animal sacrifice and plague. The Corrupted Life Force skill causes all enemies around you to grow volatile blood boils on their skin. When those enemies are slain, the boils will burst, spreading corrupted blood to all enemies around them. The Ritualist also excels in taking advantage of magical trinkets.
Dude,
The Unfurled Finger skill allows you to equip an additional ring on a finger around your neck. Taking Mystic Attunement increases the bonuses of all the rings and amulets you have equipped.
Nah.
Now, this is one of my favorites. As the Whispers Ask grants you a new skill, Ritual Sacrifice. Use the skill on the corpses of slain rare monsters to absorb the power in their blood to give you one of their modifiers for a short time.
Get under it at home.
Specialize further into Ritualistic Sacrifice with As the Whispers Demand, which allows you to perform that skill on yourself instead of a corpse. Cut your own hand, sacrificing some of your own blood to empower yourself. The Amazon Ascension is for those looking to hunt more than just beasts.
She's looking sick.
Trained as an elite guard to the most important Asmeri elders, the Amazon will use more traditional fighting techniques mastered to perfection. The Predatory Instinct skill will cause you to reveal weaknesses in the defenses of rare and unique enemies, causing you to deal more damage. You can see those weak spots represented on their life bars. While using Elemental Infusion, any charges you consume will infuse your weapon with elemental power, causing any projectile attacks to explode on impact.
It's like a little discharge.
The Critical Strike skill is as simple as it sounds. It takes your excess accuracy and gives it to you as critical strike chance. Additionally, you have skills like Mystic Harvest, which allows your elemental damage to leech life, and as Merry Brew to be able to use either flask to restore both life and mana.
What?
So those are the two new ascendancies for the Huntress. But
I
those are
didn't
not
see.
the
Was I
only
covering
ascendancies
something?
in Dawn of the Hunt. We've added a new ascension
I'll
class
leave.
for 3 of the other existing classes too. First up, for our warriors out there, we have the Smith of Kitava. The warrior is a blacksmith in origin, taught by his father Renly. With this ascension, you can take your smithing skills to new heights by embracing power from the insatiable one himself, Kitava. Smiths of Kitava are master blacksmiths and have the ability to forge their weapon, quite literally. Using the Against the Anvil notable skill, you can enhance your weapon with fiery destruction before any battle. After doing so, your attacks will release explosions on hit for maximum devastation. You can also use the power of Kitava to summon an animated copy of your weapon to fight alongside you. A great blacksmith can do more than just forging their weapon though. Their armor can be enhanced too. Now you might think this Ascendancy class tree looks a little abnormal,
What the fuck
and
is
you're
that?
right.
What is that?
There's a lot of notable skills all disconnected at the bottom there. By taking this point here, which is free to assign, your character is unable to equip body armors with mods of any kind. So your body armor must be normal. Sounds like a downside, right? Except now in true blacksmith fashion, you get to craft your own body armor by taking those disconnected notables with your points. If you want your body armor to grant life, take this notable. If you want resistances, take this one. There's so many choices. Think of it like you're crafting your own body
How
armor,
many do you
just
get,
in a
though?
more literal sense. Now,
how many
let's
do you
move on
get?
to those who prefer the reassuring feel of a crossbow in their
Do
hands,
you get like
the
3
mercenary.
points?
Alongside the existing Ascension classes, the Gemling Legionnaire and the Witch Hunter, you can now play as the Tactician. The Tactician is a former Blackguard elite.
Old sentry guy.
Free from the duties of a Blackguard, he is able to use his training to decimate the monsters of Rayclast and earn a healthy income doing so. This training comes in the form of various skills like suppressing fire, which causes all projectiles to pin enemies. When combined with the right where we want them notable, your pin not only stops your enemies from moving, but stops them from performing actions too. Similar to freeze. With a soldier's training, the Tactician also works well cooperatively. Using the whoever pays best notable, you can place multiple banners at once.
Ew.
The Watch How We Do It skill gives a portion of your weapon's damage to your allies as well.
Fuck that.
But if that isn't enough, you can also command your army of off-screen archers to unleash hell and carpet an entire area with arrows. Finally, Witch players will be able to
Fuck that
join
guy.
their legions by
Fuck
becoming
that.
undead themselves. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're introducing the Lich Ascension class. The Lich is a master of chaos and curses and could sacrifice her life to enhance her energy shield. The Crystalline Phylactery skill allows you to nominate a jewel in which to contain part of your soul, massively increasing its power. There's just one downside to splitting your soul this way though. If you have no energy shield, your mana costs will shoot up. The Necromantic Conduit
That's
skill
fucking
causes
cool.
you and allies in your
That's so
presence to have
cool.
unholy might, granting extra damage as chaos damage. Rupture the Soul makes enemies you curse explode with chaos damage when slain.
Oh, occultist? Okay. Yeah.
Dominion over Flesh allows you to apply an additional curse.
Okay, it's occultist.
It's safe to say you'll be the true master of the occult by choosing the Lich class. So Dawn of the Hunt has the Huntress and 5 new Ascension classes, but it doesn't end there. Let's take a look at some of the new skills we've added. Now you may remember we've previously talked about the Raised Spectre skill. It's finally complete, and it will be made available in the upcoming expansion.
Oh, shit, okay.
It can be found in the occult skills on the skill gem crafting panel.
Okay.
Raised Spectre is a skill that allows you to trap the soul of almost any monster in the game,
It's gonna hold you on.
which you can then summon in the skill panel. Spectres cost spirit and will revive automatically if they die, but the spirit cost varies based on the power of the monster. You could summon an army of weaker monsters, or a few of the more powerful monsters. You can combine them with your existing
What?
skeleton minions,
A balancing nightmare.
or summon exclusively spectres.
This is
All
gonna be
up to you
broken,
and
by
how
the
you
way.
want to customize your army of the undead. Given that there are hundreds upon hundreds of monster variants in Path of Exile 2, it's safe to say you'll be experimenting
be
with this
some
one for a
broken
while.
monster.
We look forward to seeing which monsters serve you best. Now let's move on to our next skill. Since we've been talking about summoning undead so much, let's have a change of pace and summon something a little more alive. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding the Summon Rower skill. Summon your friendly rower to aid you in combat as a minion. You can also mount your rower in combat at any time, allowing you to move at full speed even while shooting arrows or throwing spears. Be wary though, if you take too much damage while riding your mount, you can be knocked off and get overwhelmed. It's worth keeping an eye on your stagger bar, as falling off the mount can mean almost certain death. On the topic of new ways to enhance your character, let's talk about support gems. Support gems are used to modify your skill gems in meaningful and interesting ways. Currently, we feel that a lot of builds have insufficient options here.
Yep.
To alleviate this, we're adding over 100 new support gems.
Not enough. Not enough.
Hema crystals will enable a new kind of bleed build, turning the damage over time you would have done into explosive Vaal crystals.
That's nutty.
Alignment is a support gem for bow attacks, which can reward skilled players with good positional skills. Caltrops will allow you to litter the battlefield with hazards, slowing your foes as you fling spears through their ranks. But there's plenty more for every playstyle, such as enormity,
Minions,
unsteady
dice.
tempo,
I need to read these. I can't read them fast enough, man. Oh well, it's cool though.
profanity, retaliate,
Just Dunbar increases. Okay.
syzygy. Yep, that's a real word.
What the fuck is syzygy?
And many more. Now, we've talked about a new class, new ascendancy classes, new skills, and new support gems. But let's not forget about the core of a true action RPG, the items. To start with, let's talk about uniques.
All your uniques are dog shit.
We're adding over 100 new
they're
unique
all
items.
dog shit, GG.
This time, we've made sure to add uniques with a focus on mid and end-game tiers to make sure there are more exciting items to find
Yo, you
for
said that
higher-level
last
characters.
time.
Let's look at some examples. Embrace your inner devil with Chernobog's Pillar. It grants you a large amount of fire damage based on your block chance.
Okay.
The Coming Calamity allows you to become a true master of the elements, granting you all 3 Elemental Herald skills without costing any spirit. At the same time, it penalizes enemy resistances.
What?
Wastegate is a belt useful for builds using a single resource like Blood Magic or Archmage builds. With this belt, you can use 2 life flasks or 2 mana flasks. It's
Finally.
up to you.
I feel like it's been
Now,
done
we
on
could
the
go
tree.
through these all day, but we'll leave most of them for you to discover. Suffice to say, though, we want there to be way more cool things to find. Over time, our goal is to add a unique to every
Tiebreaker!
single base item type at a minimum, so that you can chance any base in the game.
It's the patch hatch
Now,
thing.
given that we have the Huntress, we have a set of unique spears from early game all the way through to end game as well. One example is Scyther's Spear,
Nice.
which combines bleed and fire in a powerful way. It allows your ignites to be aggravated, dealing substantially more damage. We're also introducing a suite of unique bucklers with some interesting parry mechanics. Calgyra's Arc, for
Infinite
example,
projectile
allows you to
parry.
parry projectiles from any distance. And we're also adding our first unique charms. Bayra's Anguish will not only protect you from ignite, but will also emit a devastating fire nova whenever you do get ignited.
That's kind of cool.
In sum, there's just a ton of new uniques to find. We can't wait to see the weird and broken builds that come out of it. Now, we also want to talk about crafting options.
Okay, here we
In
go.
each major update during
need
early
this.
access,
We
we'll be
need more.
continuing to add and improve the options here. We have various new crafting tools that have been added as rewards to many of the different types of new content that we're adding. But for now, I just want to mention the changes to runes. Runes add commonly available mods, but since they only have 1 tier, flat damage mods tend to get outclassed by in-game. So we've changed runes to have multiple tiers, allowing you to get higher tier mods than before. Our plan is to significantly expand the number of more specialized mods for crafting using socketables as we add new content over time. And the first new set of those
That's
comes
buffing
from
the
what we're
bench,
talking about
basically.
next.
That's buffing the
In
bench.
Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding Asmarian Wisps, which can be found throughout both the campaign and the endgame.
I got Wisp PTSD, bro, from that fucking
The
one
Asmari
expansion.
spirit has made itself present in Rayclast, and it appears to be trying to warn, or maybe prepare us for the coming darkness. You will first encounter a manifestation of it in the Grellwood in Act 1, where you'll meet Delwyn, an Asmari hunter who is trying to find out what exactly is causing the spirit to behave this way. As you approach the Wisp, it will flee, leading you past monsters. Any monsters it comes into contact with are infused by it, making them more powerful. Each spirit is associated with a specific revered animal within Asmari culture. This one is a Wisp of the Great Bear, and grants enemies extra life and stun. The Wisp moves faster the closer you are, and as you move away, they slow down to wait for you.
Okay.
But if you get too far away for too long, they'll dissipate and return to the woods. As you continue to chase the Wisp, it will find
Dude,
and
I
possess a
died in
rare
this
or
Wisp
unique monster,
expansion so many
granting it a
times.
new powerful ability. Because this was a Wisp of the Great Bear, this monster now also has increased life and stun. But on top of that, it will periodically summon a large spectral bear that slams with wild fury. If you're able to defeat this foe, you will be rewarded. For each monster that was infused and killed along the way, the rewards will be increased. Each Wisp has its
God.
own mechanics. The Wisp of the Winter Owl is a primal wisp that causes enemies to deal extra cold damage, gain energy shield, and release wind vortices on death. When infusing a monster, they will call down large tornadoes to protect their host. The Wisp of the Wild Cat is a vivid wisp that causes affected monsters to deal more critical strikes and become more evasive. When it infuses a monster, it will summon a barrage of feline spirits that will attempt to tear you limb from limb.
Jesus.
If you're lucky, you may even find sacred wisps that can do some pretty crazy things to the monsters they influence. Like the Wisp of the Cunning Fox, which turns normal monsters into magics, magic monsters into rares, and rare monsters into actual bosses.
How many? Wait, what?
Asmarian
That's gonna be
wisps can drop a
broken.
new set of socketable
That's gonna be
items that
broken.
allow you to craft a wide range of interesting new mods onto your items.
Oh.
Each one may only be used on a specific item slot.
Shit.
As mentioned, the Asmarian wisps can be encountered throughout the game, but there's also a new endgame map called the Asmari Ranges, a mountain village where the Asmari once lived, now overrun with corrupt monsters. This map always has multiple Asmarian wisps in it, and familiar, yet not quite the same boss fight. Asmarian wisps can also be further modified by the endgame Atlas
Ooh,
tree as
straight
well,
away.
and by tablets.
Okay, wait. The
But
Atlas is
I'm
still
not
in
going to be
game?
the one talking about those things. In order to cover all the new content in in-game,
Mark.
I'm going to hand things over to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. There's a ton to talk about with the endgame today, so let's dig right in. Path of Exile 2's early access began with a brand new endgame, and it was clear that it needed a lot of work.
Yeah, I did.
After absorbing your feedback,
We don't need
we're ready to
Band-Aids.
make some epic
We
changes.
need big changes.
The first thing is, we just need a lot more content.
True.
In Dawn of the Hunt, we
True.
have made sure to focus on increasing the sheer number of interesting and different encounters you will randomly stumble into as you explore the endgame. And the second goal is to smoothen the progression through maps and reduce the amount of annoying busy work. To start with, let's talk about the new interesting stuff to find. Well, the most obvious thing to add are new maps. As well as the Asmari Ranges that Jonathan
maps.
mentioned earlier, Dawn of the Hunt also contains 7 other new maps,
Okay.
all with their own custom encounters. Let's start with this one. The Feral Megaliths map starts off in the wild Ezomite forests. As you progress through the forest, you will find mysterious rune-carved stones that, when touched, surge with energy. After activating all the stones, you can find a grand henge, where all the energy is coalescing. You can then start an encounter. The area darkens, a storm moves in, and a concentration of energy summons a dangerous
Shit,
boss.
what the fuck?
You must fight and defeat the boss to get its rewards. Once you have defeated it, summon another. And another.
Huh?
And another. And another.
Yo,
You have
the
10
boss
total waves of
farming.
boss fights which get incrementally more difficult.
Oh, no.
If you manage to defeat them, you get full boss rewards, but also opportunities to get new runes. These can only be obtained from this map. The Fractured Lake contains a surreal waterscape with fractured mirror-like objects. As you move around the map, the terrain itself elevates from below, creating the ground you walk on. In this unique map, all the rare monsters are mirrored, so you're always fighting 2 of the same rare at the
Yo,
same time,
they
which
made
can
this
prove
shit for
quite
PoE2
difficult.
and ported it to PoE1.
If you manage to overcome that challenge and make it to the end of the map, you'll be presented with a broken mirror, a powerful altar-like object that contains an item within it.
Ah, yeah.
The item contained within is a new base type, either an amulet or a ring, that can be crafted to have additional prefixes or suffixes at the cost of the other.
Okay.
The last unique map we'll show today is one based around the essence mechanic. You enter a crystalline cavern, and you will find a powerful map boss imprisoned in the center. It is surrounded by many rare monsters, also imprisoned in essences. By freeing
sick.
and defeating the rare monsters, the essence they held will be upgraded to a greater essence, and be added to the imprisoned map boss. How brave are you? How many essences will you add to the boss? Overdo it, and you might lose everything. Underdo it, and you might regret it. It's your choice. Speaking of essences, alongside visual improvements, you're now able to apply Val Orbs to corrupt the essences, with a range of unpredictable outcomes. It could increase the number of essences, re-roll all the essences to the same type, or even upgrade the essences to greater essences. What if they're
Oh,
already
change.
greater essences? Well, it can upgrade those too.
There's a corruption, but you
We
can
have
balance.
4 new corrupted essences.
Okay.
Essence of Hysteria, Delirium, Horror, and Insanity.
Ooh, the crafting guys are going crazy.
Each corrupted essence has its own interesting combat mechanics. For example, the essence of Insanity causes you to question even your own mind, as monsters split into shadowy clones, and you must locate the real one before a devastating icy explosion freezes everything around it.
Oh, fuck.
Each of these has their own crafting outcomes. The essence of Insanity can be applied to a belt. It adds a mod that will ensure the next Val orb used on the belt will guarantee adding 2 enchantments.
That's kind of cool.
It's
Wait,
worth
use the
noting,
suffix,
all
though?
the essences in the unique map can also be corrupted too, if you're willing to risk
Do
it.
it, Zach.
It's worth noting we have also added 10 extra Atlas passive points you can earn by completing 5 different unique maps. Now, new maps are just the beginning. We had a goal where we wanted to make sure you were constantly finding exciting new content, and that it could be lurking around any corner.
I like that.
So, we have added a bunch of new things that you could stumble into in any map you run. On your travels, you will sometimes encounter rogue exiles. Others like you who have been exiled and are openly hostile. Some are malicious, some are mad, while others are simply fiends for loot. They will challenge you, a fight to the death. They use the same skills available to players, and even the same items. They aren't just dressed up in those items, they're actually using them. It's going to feel like a true player versus player situation.
Oh, God.
Of course, if you are able to slay these exiles, those items will all drop on the ground.
Wait, what? Like
So if you encounter
RuneScape.
an exile using a powerful or valuable unique item, which you can see displayed under their life bar, you want to be damn sure you kill them. Because if they kill you and your party, they'll portal out, taking their items with them. Every fight will feel completely different
What?
depending on
That's
the items
sick.
they come equipped
That's
with.
cool. I like
These
the mechanic.
exiles are much smarter than your regular
3
monster.
dragons.
They have capabilities to
What if it's
dodge
got that-
roll, avoid your abilities with smart pathfinding, smart targeting, and much more action-packed gameplay.
God.
Fortunately, they're like you and they're not super durable. Unless, of course, they're wearing uniques like Helm's Heart, in which case, expect a longer battle. There are 12 different rogue exiles you can find, each with their own skills and
Do they
personalities.
have a randomization in terms
Some
of
may
uniques?
insult you, while others may admire your honor in combat. Another encounter you might stumble onto in Dawn of the Hunt are one of 4 new unique strongboxes. Strongboxes are chests with modifiers. When you try to open them, they activate traps and spawn waves of monsters that you must defeat to access the loot. Let's take a look at 2 of the new unique boxes that are harder to find and behave just a little bit differently. The Ogham's Legacy Strongbox has a corpse splayed out in front of the rune-carved stone. Upon interacting with the stone, you activate Forbidden Ezomite magic, which revives the monster as a powerful rare. The Strongbox comes with a modifier which determines how many times it will revive that rare. Each time you defeat the monstrosity, the Strongbox revives it again, adding an extra modifier to the monster. With each resurrection, it becomes more difficult, but also more rewarding.
Oh, God.
This Strongbox is infused with thaumaturgy from ancient Val technology. Eshel's Torment has a powerful artifact inside, and is guarded by chaos itself. Defeating the monsters will grant you a unique item, with a specific corrupted outcome. You'll have to find the other 2 for yourself to see what they do.
Beetle, dude. Oh, no.
Now,
A
let's
puzzle
talk
box.
about the introduction to the endgame. Upon starting the endgame, Doriani tasks you with cleansing corruption to help restore the land. However, in practice, the quest objective just sent you on a grind to clear 15 maps. We wanted to make the quest to unlock your Atlas passives much more interesting. Now, Doriani is tasking you with a more specific objective. On the Atlas, you will find areas of corruption caused by the beast. In the center of each one, you will find a corrupted nexus, the source of the affliction. In the areas leading up to the nexus, you will notice that corruption spills out from slain enemies and amalgamates into powerful monsters.
I hate those
Corrupted maps existed on the Atlas before, but we've done significant work on improving these monsters. We've also done a full pass on the modifiers on these maps to make them more interesting and more rewarding. Once you reach the Nexus, you will have a new task: cleanse the source of corruption. When you defeat the last rare in those maps, they will spawn one of 3 terrifying bosses, amalgamations of corruption itself. After defeating that boss, Doriani will come and cleanse the corruption for good. As the remains of the boss are purged of corruption, it coalesces into raw crystallized power, which you can use to gain points for your Atlas passive skill tree. The upgrade system that allows you to add and enhance content in your maps.
That's cooler.
We didn't stop there though.
Dude.
When you complete a
That's
corrupted
sick.
nexus,
Oh.
all of the remaining surrounding corrupted maps will become cleansed maps. Cleansed maps also have new monsters,
That's cool.
a new boss, and their own set of modifiers and rewards,
Whoa, that's cool.
including finding fracturing orbs by slaying cleansed enemies.
Yo, fracturing orbs. What? Fracturing orbs?
These orbs can be used in crafting on a
They're
rare
so
item
rare.
to cause one of its modifiers to become fractured.
They're gonna be so
A
rare.
fractured modifier is one that cannot be modified by any means. You are able to freely modify the item, ensuring the fractured modifier will never change.
Because there's no cancel.
If you get the right item with the right mod, it can prove to be a very powerful crafting base indeed. You must now choose. Do you complete all the corrupted maps and then the Nexus? Or maybe you beeline to the Nexus,
Beeline to Nexus.
complete it, and do all the remaining maps clean.
Beeline Nexus every time.
Both have rewards to entice
Fracturing
you
orb.
and
Beeline
challenges
Nexus.
to assess.
I hate those Beyond mobs anyway.
Now, let's have a talk about towers. One thing we've had a lot of feedback on is the busy work around running towers and managing your tablets. The first change we've made here is that we have reduced the number of towers drastically. So there are now
Okay.
1/3 as many as before,
Okay.
but we've made them much more powerful.
Triple.
To start with, tablets now inherently add twice as many mechanics.
Okay,
But
doubled
that's
it.
not all.
Doubled it.
Running higher tier maps and towers now increases the number of mechanics applied by tablets. By tier 15, the bonuses double, allowing a single tablet to now add 4 times as many mechanics as before.
Jesus Christ.
So, we're running far fewer towers, dealing with fewer tablets, and affecting even more maps than before.
Yeah.
But because there are fewer towers overlapping with each other, you won't get as many opportunities to stack different tablets.
Get a stack of
In
the
order
same
to
tower.
solve this, we've made it so that each tower can consume up to 3 tablets at once. You always get 1 slot on completing the tower, but if you can complete a tower with more mods on the waystone, you can unlock a 2nd or 3rd slot. Overall, this allows for even more juicing from towers, while drastically reducing the amount of busy work you have to do. On top of that, towers are much more interesting maps because they can now spawn with
6
all
mod
mechanics,
tower.
including bosses. Each tower map has a new boss. Let's take a look at a couple here.
Okay.
The boss fight of the Alpine Ridge map
Yo,
has
that's
2
sick.
powerful witches contesting for territory. One witch has an affinity for ice, the other fire. Who will win? Hopefully neither. The boss of the Sinking Spire map is a remnant of the Val that has been charged with lightning. It uses a full suite of lightning abilities, but be careful. If any of them hit the surrounding constructs, they will power up. Another thing that we've seen a lot of feedback about is sustaining waystones. As we looked into it,
Get
we
good.
realized that the people who couldn't sustain waystones were
Trash
dying a
computers.
lot.
Oh, shit.
A lot more than we had expected. And that made us realize something. During the campaign, the expectation is that you can die multiple times in order to learn how to overcome challenges. You are able to learn how the monsters behave, adapt to their skills, and eventually overcome them. But as soon as you get to the endgame, you are effectively no longer allowed to die if you want to sustain waystones.
As it should be.
By the time you are getting towards the end of endgame, we want you to have to be careful not to die. But it certainly shouldn't be that we have such a sudden
They need
shift
to make the
as you
campaign
run
harder.
your first maps.
That's how they fix it.
The first change we're making is you can now respawn and return to a map if you die,
Wow.
continuing from where you left off.
Okay.
When you start the
Wait,
endgame,
what?
you
Okay.
get up to 6 total attempts per map.
Reddit 1.
As you add more modifiers to a waystone, the
Okay.
number of respawns goes down.
Ah, yeah. Okay, so
This
it's the
means
same-
that as you get to the point that you're running every
Rock bottom.
waystone as a rare, you will have to be more careful.
There it is.
In parties, everyone gets to respawn that
Okay.
number of times.
Reddit didn't win.
But we still think it's important that you can kill a boss in one go. In order to allow that to happen, we've made a change so that once you start the boss fight, it changes over to the same respawning system we use for pinnacle bosses. This means that the map owner can choose to respawn everyone at the same time. Another complaint we've seen a lot of is players not wanting to do the pinnacle content because of the experience penalty from dying. A change we've made here is that all pinnacle content now no longer grants experience, but also no longer removes experience on death either.
Okay.
Dawn of the Hunt
So
also
quick,
brings the first batch
rejoicing.
of Twilight Order reliquary
Matthew's going
keys
crazy
from the
right now.
early access supporter packs. These keys contain items selected by our supporters. They can contain any unique item found in Path of Exile 2. If the selected item is a pinnacle boss drop, then only special keys dropped by this content will be able to provide these items. For example, Hand of Wisdom in
That's smart.
action can
That's smart.
only come from a key dropped by Zesht.
That's smart. Smart.
We're also making a change that allows pinnacle boss uniques to drop at any difficulty. Rarer uniques will be rarer at lower difficulties, but still possible to find. This applies to the drop chances for the reliquary keys from this content as well. We spoke about towers and tablets earlier, but we have also added a suite of unique tablets. Each of these adds crazy interactions to the maps influenced by it. For example, this unique tablet allows you to run any map in a tower's radius without requiring connections, which can be quite useful for jumping gaps and traveling around your atlas.
That's sick, actually.
And this tablet causes all runic monsters spawned during expedition
that
encounters
one's not
to be
too rare.
duplicated,
I hope it's
and
not too
weakens all expedition monsters that emerge from the ground.
Oh, what the hell?
The Atlas tree has also been expanded, and you can find many of the new mechanics there, and improvements to existing ones too. Now, through this livestream, we have mentioned quite a few new crafting options that we've added. New runes, corrupted essences, fractured mods, and jewelry crafting bases. But we did have just one more crafting system to talk about.
I swear to God.
Recombination. Expedition was the only in-game mechanic that was lacking a crafting system, so that needed to change. Recombination is a mechanic that might be familiar to some players. It allows you to merge two items together, hoping to get the best elements of each on a single new item. This new crafting bench will be unlocked as you complete your first expedition, and requires artifacts found during expeditions to fuel it. The rarer the mods on the item you are combining, the more expensive the cost. That wraps up all the major in-game changes we're talking about
dog
today.
shit, or does it work?
With all the system changes and new content, we can't wait to get in there, start blasting maps, and obliterating monsters. There is one more thing we wanted to clarify before we move on, which is that all the content we've talked about today will be made available in the existing early access leagues, so you can play your existing characters. However, there will be new leagues made for those who wish to start in a fresh economy.
Okay.
It is recommended to start over and get the full new experience in the Dawn of the Hunt leagues. For all our existing early access players, we're really looking forward to joining you playing in this new update. For those who don't already have access and are interested in playing Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, you are able to at any time purchase an early access supporter pack at www.pathofexile2.com.
Just keep going.
Additionally, the Paladin and Penance supporter packs are now available to purchase in Path of Exile 2
adding in new support
and
packs.
contain 6 microtransactions each, and the full pack's face value in points. All the microtransactions
all the
contained
points
within these
value and
packs
points
are
build
purely
points.
cosmetic and do
Points.
not affect your character's power or progression in any way. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. With release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and many new microtransactions, including Path of Exile 2's first alternate skill effects. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to playing the Huntress, trying new builds, and exploring the new endgame next week. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
Okay, that was quite satisfactory. They hit upon pretty much everything that I wanted, which was in-game crafting. And they didn't say anything about balancing though, or skills. But the main thing was we now have more crafting options. I hope those fracturing orbs are common.
where? Oh,
Good
fuck.
morning, Exiles, and welcome to the Q&A portion of today after
gonna say it's
a
quiet.
very exciting
Volume.
reveal with
Sound, volume.
lots in it, exceeding my expectations, particularly in crafting. But on that note, we're joined here by Jonathan and Mark to talk about all that we've seen today and more in the future of Path of Exile 2.
Alright, Jack, I
And
can do
you had an update about the recombination.
Yes, that's
first,
right.
though.
That's right. Yeah, so we actually last night had a bit of a design session and realized that we weren't actually fully happy with the way that recombination worked.
So buffing it.
So we
Better
actually
be
made
buffed.
quite a big change to it, which wasn't reflected in that video, obviously, which is basically that we sort of wanted to give a bit more control to the player over how recombination works.
You get to select the
And
mods,
we also
maybe?
kind of weren't really happy about the fact that recombinations is something that like kind of matters a lot for really, really ultra endgame players. But it wasn't something that was really mattering a lot for like the people who effectively got access to the feature at the start. So we've actually changed it now so that the way it works is that you pick which mods you want on the each item from each item, and then it gives you a percentage chance of success based on the number you picked. So if you pick just like one from one and one from the other, then the chance is much higher. But if you pick if you pick 6 mods, it'll become practically impossible. So effectively, like the more you're wanting to design the item, the less of a chance of actually having success. So that means that if you just want to get like a mod, if you want to get an item with like these 2 mods that I found off the ground, that's relatively easy. If you want to get an item which has all of them, then very hard.
No one can hit
So we think that's a much better design because it means you can kind of use the recombinators actually become something that you can use even from the first point you get them. But there's still this kind of end game
Is he
like
saying you
like
can
for
select it in the
perfect stuff you might
recombinator?
still be able to do it.
Or you have to
with
put in an
more.
item with only 2 mods?
It is kind of balanced though, so that like if you pick literally all 6, then it's going to be like incredibly low to the point of like don't even try that. But like 4 mods might be a good thing to sort of be striving for, that kind
so
of
you
thing,
get
and then
to select.
exalt
That's
the other
sick.
2, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the new design of that. So hopefully that'll be in by the time 02 comes out. We've kind of got a plan for doing that. Yeah, like I think it's a much better design than what we had before for recombinators.
If it's not there for O2O, it'll be
Audio
Yeah,
as
very
soon as
soon.
it can afterwards.
Very soon,
But
yeah.
spur of the moment, night before the live stream design sessions.
Yeah.
But
Been a few of those.
increased player
Well,
agency
yeah, turn the volume
and
up, I'm taking it
visibility
down.
into the
Jesus.
success result is just a win. And honestly, took way too long to get to the point of us actually going, this is
150?
just straight up better to have observability into that and the freedom of choice. So.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. Recombination definitely
200.
felt like something that was both really high end in terms of the crafting that it was intended for, but also just even understanding it. This seems much more intuitive because
Yes, you just pick what you
selecting
want.
the mods you want.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
So it does sound like it's a little bit of a nerf for the very high end of crafting, though. Like,
It might end up being, but I'm not like it sort of depends on how the numbers come out. Like because we only just designed this, we need to still work out like exactly how the numbers end up looking. But I mean, look, we have to make sure. Obviously, whenever we're designing any crafting system, we have to be really sure that we're not like screwing over finding stuff on the ground. So you have to sort of have that balance, and
Christ, the audio
that's
is so
so
fucked.
that kind of informs everything we do with crafting usually.
One
Can't
difference
win.
here, though, of course, is if the success chance fails, both
item's just
both
deleted,
items
yeah.
are destroyed
Can't
as
win.
opposed to always keeping one.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So it's basically
Whether or
percent
not-
chance for success, and if it fails, item's gone. So
What, roughly, what do you think you try to pitch just choosing 2 mods at? Like,
it depends on what mods you're selecting, but I'm kind of thinking kind of like 35%-ish kind of thing for like 2 normal mods, that kind of thing.
both
Like
to
for them
go
both,
over?
yeah, for them both. For if you pick 2,
Yeah.
and then but we'll
it
see.
kind of depends. Again,
It kind of depends. We'll see how we have to do
higher
some
tier
mathing.
mods are rare, and
Yeah, exactly. So it sort of
it
depends on the
also
situation.
the other thing is it's going to now have a fixed cost, so it's not going to
Yeah. And the idea is
dollar
like,
based on
and the idea is like doing a single expedition should be enough to do a recombination. So, you're going to be doing them like relatively often as you're doing expeditions.
So is the part of expedition where you get to craft with the NPCs still a thing now?
volume.
Now that you're adding this?
Yeah, I mean, you've still got that whole mechanic, and like, so it's effectively
fuck.
it's competing for the artifacts.
Yeah.
Between recombination versus buying things from that other way.
So is there some buffs intended for that then to make it more
moron.
competitive?
not
with-
yet. It definitely needs some love in the future, but not at this time.
It's fine now because I
Seems like,
fucking fixed it, you
kind of go
retard
hand in hand
cunt!
where one is giving you items that you can then potentially recombinate.
That is also true. You can use the ingredients of one in the other, or the outcome of one
Sorry
as
about
an
that.
ingredient in another. Yeah.
Cool. We'll talk more about
I'm trying to
crafting a
lock
little
it,
bit
you guys-
later on for sure, because there was a lot announced there, which I'm quite excited about. Definitely exceeded my predictions for what you'd be adding in terms of crafting. But firstly, though, just a quick clarification on the league. So there's not going to be a wipe for the new players joining us. If you were playing on a character, you can still keep playing on a character. But a lot of long-term Path of Exile players know the importance of playing on a fresh start, and that's also really important for you guys as well.
For sure, yeah. I mean, basically, if we don't have like any character that's come from before, you're just not gonna because the balance is so different and because so many things have changed. There's like no point in even listening to feedback for someone who's playing in the old league. Like, it really has to be that you're doing the fresh start, and we're sort of seeing how things go in the new economy. So like we were really sort of it was kind of an interesting decision about whether or not we should make it so that all the content is exclusive, or rather what amount of content would be exclusive to the league versus not. And the issue that we had is that a league means something in Path of Exile. In order for something to rise to the level of a league, it needs like a certain amount of features. And the original thing we were thinking about doing that way would be the Asmeri and Wisps, but there wasn't quite like the kind of like meta mechanics and stuff with that. So we didn't quite rise to the level of feeling like it deserved to be a challenge league. And at the same time, we've also got a lot of new players playing Path of Exile 2, never played Path of Exile before. So we were a little bit we kind of were deciding should we make them exclusive or not? We sort of decided, you know what, for this one we're not going to. And then what we'll probably try and do is for the next league that we do, we'll actually make it a proper challenge league with like its own exclusive mechanic and so on. But yeah, it's a little bit funny because like in early access is a bit of a different situation, and so. Yeah, we'll sort of see how this goes anyway. But certainly I would encourage everyone just like start again on a new character. I think, you'll have a much better time because, obviously if there's structural changes to the passive tree. It's like if you log in with your old character, you're going to have your tree's going to get reset. You have to do stuff. There's things like that are going to happen.
Way cooler.
That mean that, and also just balance changes, right? Like huge numbers of them. So you're going to have a better time playing from the start.
That's it. And speaking of the Huntress then, so we saw our initial Huntress quite some time ago now and had some hands-on time with it and things, but I certainly, having played that before and played it now recently, the Huntress has changed quite a lot.
Yeah.
So what was the... how hard was it to get it ready for release? What was kind of the key there?
I mean, it's funny because class design is one of those things where every time you add something, it can make you reevaluate everything else, which is why it's so hard to predict how long a class will take. So it changed a lot since the last time we had we were showing Huntress. And honestly, it's like while there are some skills that you will still see, it just plays completely different. And I mean, whenever we're looking in how we're going to design something like this, it really comes down to what is it's special about the character class. How can we double down on that to make sure it feels different? So with the Huntress, you've obviously got spears as a base type. The key difference between a spear and any other weapon type is that you can both use them at melee and you can also use them at range. You can throw them. And so because of that, we really were just really trying to incentivize everything possible so that you use both of those things. And action RPG players, they generally speaking, the balance can often be such that you only really want to do one thing and do that one thing well. Everything. So trying to incentivize the kind of ranged and melee is, quite a thing. And I mean, the way we do it effectively is try to make sure that there are combo chains where, a ranged thing can combo with something that's melee and a melee thing can combo with something that's ranged, and then also give you good abilities to move between the two states. And so that kind of means that you end up with a very agile character, you're constantly moving backwards and forwards and kind of moving around. And I would say that given that it's the Dex character, that it's good that it feels that way, that it feels the most agile of all of the melee character classes. That's been a really good one. But I mean, look, there are, in terms of changes, I mean, look, there are just changes all the time. The frenzy charge thing was relatively late in development. There's quite a lot of things going on that just meant that the field kept on evolving. And another big one, of course, was parry, which I honestly was very skeptical of working. And Mark, Mark was the one who saved it. Honestly, I was you know what? There was 3 times I think where I was you know what? I don't think it's going to work. And then you were okay, I think we're going to save this.
I was give me a week.
Yeah, exactly. And it works completely differently for most games, because in most games, obviously, for parrying, the way that works is that you have to time the like to push the block button at exactly the right time. But that's just something that just wouldn't work in our combat system because you're often packs of monsters. It's just like you don't really have the ability to read combat in that way in our game.
It's more like block,
and at
though.
the same time, we need to make something where there's going to be like if a single monster in a pack hits you, you need to be able to respond to that with something that's going to you need to be able to respond in a way where you don't just then immediately get hit by a bunch of other stuff.
Yes.
So having it so that the parry, like it always parries, but it's then taking advantage of what the parry does to the monster by following up with something that's going to give you an explosion or something like that to kind of deal with the pack. That's something that sort of allows that counter gameplay to work in our game. So you've kind of got two primary parry follow-ups. You've got the frenzy charge one, which dashes back, which means that you don't have to worry about the monsters hitting you. And then you've also got the one that there's another one which I don't believe we showed there, which called Fangs of Frost, which does a counter where you attack with ice, which freezes the pack. So it's another way to kind of... So in both cases, you've kind of got something that's kind of dealing with the fact that you've got all these monsters around you. And that was kind of the biggest challenge, I think, that we had with that mechanic. Yeah,
I'll also make note of there was a support gem I found that you can attach to any attack that allows you to follow up parry to generate a frenzy charge too. So it doesn't even have to be the backflip.
Yeah,
You
in
can
that case. Yeah, there's other...
create your own parry.
Yep, and then
follow-ups.
of course there's always Sniper's Mark, and there's like there's a skill that does give you a guaranteed crit, so that's a potential option as well. Like you've got a few different ways to generate them.
Because parry guarantees a light stun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always get that small window to actually engage or do a thing before before you're under danger again.
And I'll tell you
Parry,
this, like,
bleed,
I am
bro.
one of those players
Guaranteed
who
crit.
never parry, right? In any game ever, because I can never do it. It's always just so frustrating. So I was very skeptical of that, but it feels really good. You've
Awesome.
both managed to make it something that's easy to do because you can just hold the button down and
Yeah.
parry at any time. There's no skill involved in that. But at the same time, you've incentivized making it so that you do want to still try and time it as best you can personally.
Parry
Well, how have you done that? How have you made it so that like you actually still want to kind of play it skillfully?
Well, I mean, ultimately, anytime you're holding down the parry button is when you're not attacking, right? So you still
Exactly.
want to kind of minimize the window, but at the same time, like the timing is just not like, not as bad. But the nice thing as well is that like once you do successfully parry, it's very obvious. You get the sound, you get the token on the
chunky.
monster. It's very chunky.
Yeah.
So it means it's very obvious when you're supposed to counterattack. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I think that it came out really well. And honestly, one of the funny things about it is that it immediately made me realize like how bad shields are in comparison, which is why we're also trying to ninja in a change to how shields work at the last minute, which we'll see if it makes it into 020. I was playing around with it last night.
Heinous.
Yep, this
and,
was 8 p.m. last night.
Yeah, 8
at
p.m. last
Jonathan's-
night, exactly.
The whole
messing with
Xbox
this.
shit
Yeah,
is
messing around with it,
trash.
and I won't talk too much about how that's going to work.
Fucking
But
trash.
effectively, we want to make shields, the shields better as well, and kind of build something into those to make them more interesting. So that's the plan there. We'll see if it makes it for 020.
Yeah, following that kind of similar design space idea of being able to do a bit more with it.
Yeah,
And then that
100%.
feed into other skills and things like that
Okay.
as well.
100%.
There's a
I
lot of
like
room
it.
there to play with.
Yeah.
So we talked about Huntress being very, very combo heavy, and she has the deepest combo chains out of anyone so far,
Mm-hmm.
even exceeding like things that you can do with Monk. You got 3-4 different skills deep of things
Mm-hmm.
you can start to synergize together. So how do you balance? How do you make that fun? Firstly, like rather than like onerous, for example.
Well, I mean, I guess there's a few things. Like one of them is it just has to be very readable and understandable when, like what you can do and when you can do
Has
it.
to feel
And I
natural.
think the other thing that's really to our advantage here is reusing skills in multiple ways, so you can make a deeper combo chain without requiring you to be using as many skills in order to do it. So the way that Whirling Slash and Tornadoes interact with ground effects and kind of like all that stuff sort of means that you're using Whirling Slash multiple times as part of the same combo chain. And that's an idea I think that I'd like to try and explore more, because I think that it is a cool way to kind of extend the combo chain. Yeah, as I said, without sort of getting too many things involved, and that makes it a lot cooler. So yeah, I'll think a bit more about how we can apply that to other classes and other skills. But it's worked out really well here.
Yeah, it's a bit of like a loose create your own combo system in a way. Like obviously there's intended combos, but because it's interacting with something that's fundamental like ground effects, you're able to combo with anything that creates a ground effect. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Like I added shocked ground to the backflip skill, or
Right.
I got a companion pet that
Nice.
had a shocked ground aura.
Nice.
As like that was just
Yeah.
there and that was available all the time.
I mean, it's funny as well
I
because
like
it
the
also
pet,
works
bro.
on just enemy ground effects. And so
Sounds
sometimes
fun.
you can just get a damage boost because the rare just happened to be dropping ground fire or something. So that's kind of fun. Yeah. But it's been it's just a lot of fun to play. You know, the first time I ran into that was actually in the graveyard, where there's these like chests that like pop open with fire, and like I was using tornadoes, and then one of them just randomly turned into a fire tornado, and I'm like, oh, what happened there? Oh, yeah, sweet. It was just like a really cool moment where it just sort of interacted with the environment, which
I want
was really
more
fun.
stuff like that, weird physics interactions.
It always feels like you're getting a little bit of something extra
The
for free
quirk
when
stuff.
you're taking advantage of the enemy
They've
effects.
yet to
or a
do
boss
some
fight
sort
that
of
just has
fluid
burning ground
interactions,
everywhere.
you know?
That's sweet. So how do you go about balancing, though, when you have a class that has deeper combos and kind of somewhat requires you to do a bit more versus a class or a skill or a build that is just bonk?
I mean, you have to ultimately make the combos matter, right? And I think actually that's one of those things that we're trying to really focus on with the balance changes we're doing in Dawn of the Hunt more generally, is making sure that even, like, I think it's the case where some of the combo gameplay kind of degenerates a little bit by end game in a way that, like, I want to make sure it still feels rewarded. And so we were sort of doing various checks, recently about, like as a random example, right? Like, so on the Mercenary, we found that doing, but when you get to end game, doing armor break, what's it called? The armor piercing that causes armor break, followed with high velocity rounds, is just worse than just using high velocity rounds.
Yep.
And that's like really bad, right? Like, we have
Yep.
to make sure that we're improving that stuff. So it's like sometimes you just get these things where like the balance by end game kind of degenerates in a way that that doesn't support the combo anymore. And so we have to make sure that when we're looking at buffing things, that we're like making sure that when we're doing it, it's to support the fact that using more things is actually a good thing. We're really trying to make sure that we're bringing some of that, improving some of that stuff as well as we're doing making the balance changes.
So do you have like a baseline there of where like the really simplest build should be, the build that just bonks? Like,
I mean, you mean in terms of damage or in terms of like what it does? You know, I mean, we always want
I
you
guess
be able to build that way.
the
But
players have to do a combo.
I
like,
mean,
for
no,
people who don't want
ultimately
to.
you never have to, right? But it
Yeah.
sort of what it means is that you are sacrificing something. And look, the ideal situation is that like you don't feel like you have to do combos. You feel like you want to do combos,
Yes.
right? Like, because you feel rewarded for them. It's like should
That's
feel
it.
like a fun, like, oh, I can add this. Like it's the feeling you should be getting.
Yeah.
It needs
I think
to feel
the Huntress is
natural
doing that very
and
well.
not
Must be, like,
shoehorned, though.
extremely hard because I don't think I've ever
a
seen this like
difference.
ranged melee combo done well before.
Right. Well, I mean, it does require a lot of discipline, and it means that a lot of skills like end up on the cutting room floor because you try them out and then you realize, well, if this is in the game, then that's the only thing I'm ever going to do. So you got to be really careful about that stuff. For
Certainly playing the Huntress now makes me go back and look at the other classes and be
Yes.
like, we need to up that
Yeah.
the level there, and we missed the
Yeah,
mark a little bit now because this is better. And
Right.
who's to say the next class won't even be better and make us question even this? But
Sure.
you know,
But that's the way it is with class design.
That's
It's
what he
just
says when
always-
we like
Yeah.
literally when you make a new class, you question everything. He's
Right,
not
right.
understating the level of
yeah.
questioning everything.
Yeah, do you see like going back to the monk at some point and looking for more like opportunities to link skills together with
I mean,
combos
we
and things?
haven't got to the full skill set for any class yet already,
Yes,
and we need
true.
to add more pieces for
Because
a lot.
I think there's at least 4 skills that were designed and then aren't in the monk currently.
Yep, range are the same.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
extra poison skills. It was intended to be more chaos dots. There's all kinds of stuff. We have to obviously at some point fill all of that in. Hard to say when, but we're going to try and incrementally get it. Like much like how Ray Spectre and I mean the mount works with the Huntress, but we were like, let's give something for the Ranger this time. Let's give something for the summoners out there this time, and so we're just going to keep filling in those gaps over time.
And it feels like you're getting better at class and skill design as you go too. So I imagine the last class you're going to release is going to be like amazing. You'll look back at the first ones and be like, ooh.
possibly.
Well, that is that worry, but whatever. That
But
just
look, that just means we've got another round of going through everything and improving stuff again, right? So
and that will never
course.
end.
That's it. So with the parry came the kind of looking at the player getting stunned, in particular player heavy stun. So
Yep.
it's always hard to tell players like, hey, we're going to do something to you and it's going to be a bad thing. You're not going to like this.
Well, the funny thing,
Let's talk about why.
there's a few things like that actually, because so I mean, for a start, like we needed the downside of parry to be like that. Yeah, you get stunned out of it. But then when we're looking at how long, like we're like, okay, right now, and it's this true with shield block as well. By the way, it's like if you get stunned out of that, the amount of time that you get stunned out for is actually not even enough time for most bosses to do a follow-up attack on you. And it's like, well, where's the downside if it doesn't even have enough time? So we did have to extend that out a little bit, and it makes you a little bit more careful. But in just to warn people, right, there's a few other things, like we lowered, what's it called? I can't remember the name of that thing now. The thing that makes you more easy to be elemental statuses apply to you. ailment threshold. That's right, ailment threshold. Yeah. So we lowered ailment threshold to actually make it so the player has those mechanics happen more to them, right? Because like right now through campaign, like you barely get frozen or burning or shocked, really, to be honest. So there's stuff like that we've had to do to kind of make sure that that because if you don't have that stuff actually happen to you, then there's no point in mitigating it. And it's like things like charms were like not very useful because those mechanics weren't happening to you. There's stuff like that, right? The downsides do actually matter in order to make it so that that you then there's other things you can do to sort of bypass those downsides. So that's kind of one of those things that you just have to make sure is
scary.
I did always find it a little bit strange that like I was able to count the number of times I was frozen in the campaign on one finger.
For sure. For sure. But
it's always by those vile ghosts.
yes.
Oh my god, those ghosts!
So expect a little bit more, a little bit more danger from the stun. I definitely died a couple times to getting heavy stun.
Yeah, it can happen.
So that's mostly occurring if you're like doing bad blocking or parrying. But can it also occur just from like taking a really big hit or something?
Nope. Not, at least we've discussed that. We've gone through a whole bunch of different should certain boss abilities heavy stun you, and if you spec into enough stun threshold, it like demotes it to a light stun, and if that, there's all kinds of multi-hour discussions we've had, and we haven't really come to anything conclusive there. But it's only from mount, raise shield, and parry, and of which, at least for all of them, you can see your stagger bar filling up. It's worth noting things like evasion apply to. So when you're parrying, we turn off your evasion from taking damage because the block does, right? And otherwise you'd be like, I'm going to parry it. Oh, I evaded it. It didn't parry. Yeah. But you can evade the stagger build-up, so you don't take the damage anyway, just before anyone misunderstands that.
The evasion still works.
Yeah.
So high evasion will mean you can parry for longer. There's a bunch of parry stuff on the tree, including damage affecting the debuff, the duration of the debuff, so you get to benefit for it longer. Reducing stagger is all over the place for both mount and so in the dex section of the tree. So yeah, you can mitigate. I mean, my expectation is probably you'll get some in-game builds that are just like I can parry forever and there's no real consequence. So
are they buffing armor?
not every skill can be parried, of course.
It otherwise follows the slam rules. If it's a slam from above or below, you can't parry it. Much to your frustration for some things.
I mean, there are a few things where I've got disagreements about what looks like it's parryable, but...
my hopeful there was when it's contentious, people would bring it up and would change it, right?
Sure.
So, like, if it's on the line, it's meant to be blockable. Like, if it isn't clear. And there was no way with hundreds of monsters and many dozens of bosses that we weren't going to miss some things, so...
So you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but action RPGs kind of naturally pull you towards one damage type, one skill, one specific thing, and optimizing as much as possible, because otherwise you're just making a bad build a lot of the time. But I notice Huntress has a bit of everything. She's got bleed, she's got all the elements, she's got physical. The only thing she doesn't have is like chaos, but there's kind of poison on the tree right there. So how do you like promote this, like all of this different stuff together? Are you supposed to only kind of be relegated to using 2 or 3 skills, or are these supposed to come together, and how do you manage that?
Well, there's a few things. So one of them is that we provide a lot of combos with the expectation that you'll probably be focusing around like a few specific things rather than necessarily using the whole tree. So like there's that. The other thing as well is just making sure that in the passive tree there's sort of options that go across both. So the Huntress's passive tree has quite a lot of things like extra melee damage if you've done a ranged attack recently, and then it's got things like bonuses against blinded enemies because while you're in a whirling slash there's so it's sort of stuff like that where we're trying to carefully think like, well, how can we come up with something that's interesting and buffs everything that you might want to be doing, that kind of synergizes with the stuff that that Huntress can do. But it is honestly hard because like many categories of things only matter for one thing, part of a combo. So it's just like trying to come up with categories that can somehow span all of them in different ways. And ideally we can achieve that, but it is pretty hard.
The camera angles
generally you're going to become more niche or more selective because again, even mixing elements.
I should have raised the camera 15 centimeters.
Probably often going to result
you
in
probably wouldn't do both elemental and bleed. You'd probably choose one or the other. But that's why we kind of try to make sure that, like, so you've got sort of linkages between them though, right? Because it's like, for example, the thunderous leap detonates the spears that you do from the bleed thing. So it's like kind of like the idea there is to like it changes how that skill then has a use in the combo with the other one. So even if that skill itself isn't doing a lot of damage, it's triggering something that's taking advantage of all the damage bonuses you got for the for your bleed stuff. So that's kind of like the idea is just to link all that stuff in a bit so that you can use the non like directly synergistic things in a kind of more synergistic way.
Yeah, that's if you didn't see that from the earlier trailer, or it's you spear them with a bunch of spears and then jump on them and explodes them for being amazing. So, but yeah, that's using an elemental skill like in another way as a detonator. But and even more, you've got weapon swaps as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always systems we already added about all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I mean, like, what will be interesting is whether or not we miss something cross-class, right? That's always a concern. Is someone will come up with some way to abuse something, between something that's going on in the spear skills with some other class that we failed to consider.
Yeah, I mean, so that's it. When we look at a new class, we typically like call it like, Huntress
kill all
is
monsters
spears,
bullshit.
But kind of not really. It's a signature weapon, but
absolutely
nothing in the ascendancies prescribes spears.
Exactly. So effectively, we take great pains to make sure that the ascendancies never mention weapon types. That they're always generalized. So, for example, the infusion mechanic in the Amazon, it just says projectiles. It doesn't say spears, and the reason it does that is so that you could make an Amazon who is a bow user, and that's all fine. So it's effectively
good game design.
Open-ended.
It's open-ended, and honestly, I know that Mark
makes more combinations.
It makes the constraint a lot harder for how to design an ascendancy class when you have to think about it that way for sure.
Oh, it'd be much easier to just put a bunch of cool spear stuff in there, but now only really. I mean, it was similar to the original PoE 1 Saboteur. It called out traps and mines, and so you're a trap and mine character. What are you doing?
Your own build.
You could do something else, but no one else is playing that thing.
Right.
It isn't. It is easier to design. It is certainly less flexible and open as to what people can play in the different combinations and all that. So yeah,
exactly, combinations, combinatorics.
How much do you have to consider the different weapons and the skills and how they interact together when you're originally designing them, or is there just literally so many possible combinations you're just like, the players will take care of that for us?
I mean, I think it is relatively impossible to come up with everything, but certainly we have to consider, is this going to be broken with anything else in particular? And there just has to be certain rules, things about, how easy is it to apply this debuff, how easy it is to consume this debuff. And even then, it's we often make mistakes and have issues. I mean...
When he says relatively impossible, it is actually impossible.
Actually.
But...
That's relative.
But even just looking at the balance pass we're doing at the moment, right? I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds
of crossbow bleed,
that we still. I mean, there's things that we could never honestly understand all of the different broken things that could possibly exist, and so it's it really does depend a lot on on seeing reports on what people are doing on some level, right? But then I think that what will happen over time is obviously the game's still relatively new. We're still making relatively big changes. Over time, the balance I think will get to the point where we no longer have these crazy outliers to the same extent, and it should mean that we get to some sort of relative class parity. By parity, what I mean is people playing all the different classes rather than focusing only on a few as we get towards full release. Because right now it's obviously very skewed. Because there's certain broken things, so we just the balance over time we'll get there.
Are we getting a balance patch? Though?
Goals and benefits of the early access is just let's get the balance of characters right, and this patch release was always going to have 1,000 problems, or probably 10,000 problems. The next one will have half that, the next one half that, and probably eventually it's going to be down to here's only a few things going,
cock-ass?
Out of whack. There's always going to be something. Because we add too much content for it to even be controlled. Again, there are too many uniques, too many supports, too many skills, and too many other changes.
Yeah, cock-ass.
For any amount of people. You're talking about a matter of you'd have to put in thousands and thousands of hours internally to find it and then you give it to the players. There's so many people it's going to take literally 5 minutes. So it is. It's very beneficial. And we're lucky in that regard that we get that level of testing and feedback and on such a mass level, and especially with things like Ninja and all of that, and other people being able to see it and discuss it more openly, we're just going to be able to iterate on it even faster. But yeah, every single patch you're going to see a pretty substantial change in what's going to happen here. Yeah.
Thanks for making the broken builds and
well, 100%.
I mean, you mentioned support gems. It's over 100 support gems added just this patch. It's already so many, and with you doing a different weapon for each of the 16 classes.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot by the time we're done. But there kind of has to be, right? Because
I know, that's what you made it. You made this system that you need so many supports to support.
Yeah,
you do.
Because otherwise, it's not going to work. Like, especially with this one support system, it's like
we need like 500 more skill gems
well,
straight
I mean,
up.
look, this is why we have recommendations, and hopefully we can improve those as well.
Loads of
and continue to
obscure, crazy
get that better.
supports.
You know, like
There's certainly
that aren't
room
just
for
damage.
the complexity to get a little bit out of control here. So the recommendeds are going to become more and more important.
Right.
So we need to make sure those are very much right.
for sure.
Yeah, the recommended should be based off players.
Some of those recommendations down the line as well.
In some cases, in some cases.
They should have a percentage.
But the thing with the recommendations though is that they can't really take into account what you've already got on the gem. So the recommendations have to be just sort of generally good, but not really take into account combos. And,
they can totally do that.
That kind of means they're a bit more simple. Like the recommendations are going to be more simple than what you'd otherwise be doing if you're not following them.
Feels like at some point you're going to need some
You
sort
can
of
have an
nested
algorithm.
recommendation system. It's like, well, I'm kind of doing bleed stuff,
yeah,
so
you
you
can
go to
have
the
the-
submenu for bleed.
Based on those gems
I'm
you have
less
quirks.
certain about that because I
How
kind
luck
of don't
they
want to
use
get
other
into
gems.
the thing of actually telling you what your build should be. Yeah, that's a little different, bit different there.
Maybe like more sorting methods for the show me all the gems. Oh, because there's a lot that are only in there that I never recommended right at this point.
There are, yes, there are.
It's going to be an interesting challenge you guys have set yourselves to make enough supports there. So another thing that you managed to challenge that you set yourselves, and I always wonder, like, why did you do this to yourselves, was Spectres. So originally those were planned to be in for launch, but obviously Spectres are a whole can of worms. It's, hey, let's just give players access to every monster. Also, we've made so many new monsters.
Yeah.
We're talking about all the broken. There's going to be some broken in there, I promise you. And there's going to be some stuff we have to change.
I mean, they've done, but I mean, effectively, what the time between early access and this was like, okay, let's actually attempt at least to do a balance pass of this and like see if there's anything that's going to be a problem and then adjust numbers
Yeah, but now
accordingly.
you've got to account all those support gems on all those monsters.
Yes, well, this is an interesting thing, isn't it?
They're gonna be broken.
Support gems
Spectres are
work
always
on them.
broken.
And you know, like, what the hell is that going to do? Yeah, like, it's impossible to completely know. But yeah, like, look, I mean, there's probably definitely
gonna be
some
actual broken monsters,
some
like,
dark
that are just
secrets
bugged.
lying in what kind of Spectre mixed with support
You
gems.
put like
are gonna do.
multi-broach on it
monsters
and
have
it just
skills
fucking
now.
does
It's not like
20 times
PoE1
the
where
damage.
it's like just a bunch of zombies just doing default attack. It's like everything pretty much has a skill now at this point. So,
But you know, the great thing about it is we got to leverage all that work again for the beast taming as well. So and of course the difference there is that you also get the mods from the thing that you tamed. So you know, that's going to be
auras, ground effects.
yeah, exactly.
On death explosions.
No, you've got a whole nother ruckus of potential interactions. So you know, we'll see what happens there.
We've
Bro,
done
these
nice
timeouts are crazy.
specific player versions of those things,
trying to
for which
salsa.
specifically when you tame the beast, so that they're not sitting there spamming skills in your hideout and all of that.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. So,
But also, like, there actually are player versions of the mods that Res can get, like, so that we can balance them if we need to.
Yeah.
Because some of that stuff would be ridiculous if you had it yourself. So, you know, basically, we still have it sort of work. It mostly works the same way, but there will just be numbers tweaked to the player versions, and the same works as well for the what do you call it? The ritual sacrifice.
Headhunter,
Headhunter and stuff like that. So yeah, it's player versions of the monster mods for that.
yeah, this new attention to these things is going to benefit like the pre-existing stuff like Headhunter and that as well. Yeah, that's insane.
There's a new. Probably should let people discover it. There's a new unique charm that possesses you with a random Asmeri spirit as well, and so you get the daemons and the stats, and those technically also have player versions too. But actually, not to necessarily make things worse, to make things better, because monsters are balanced to fight player life and monster life, not in the same universe. So actually what we've done is all the things you steal that are monsters and monster skills, like the explosions and the summoning bears and all that, we've actually specifically balanced them way up to be more effective against monster. So when you steal them, they're much more powerful, actually. Just so they're not just tickling monsters and doing 1% of their life.
Yeah, because they always do that.
It was mentioned in chat actually, the whole like Asmeri modifiers and things on stuff that wouldn't transfer over with the companion system, surely.
No.
Yeah,
No.
That would be a little bit too far, perhaps a bit unhinged.
We actually had to, because this is certainly a benefit. Once you have tamed the beast, it is not tradable. And people might immediately be like, oh, so that's sad. Well, the issue is, and as much as you might want some of that, I'm sure you don't want to be carrying around a whole bunch of tame beasts in your inventory all the time. So that every single time you find a good rare, all of a sudden you have to go and...
Because it would mean that finding a rare would become a thing. Yes, exactly.
It's actually like this annoying, in order to make the most money, I have to be constantly thinking about and carrying around tame beasts.
But then we also made it so that as soon as you activate a beast, then no one who comes into the instance after that is allowed to tame it.
Can't do any,
so we can't TFT.
It's not an ad, Chad. I use Exile to play League of Legends.
It's like a whole there's like a lot of thinking about that stuff in order to make it so that
It's a sad thing to have lost, but it is like no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not signing up for
I didn't
that.
even think about that.
Yeah.
The like needing for cheat sheets and guides
exactly,
and stuff,
right. And so you have to be really
careful.
careful. You have to be so careful.
This week.
And the thing is like it's like we design this thing and then think, trading beasts is going to be fun, but then you realize that the horrific reality
actually
of what it will turn into. It's like but yeah, at least we're thinking about that kind of thing. Like with more experience that we have now early, so that we don't sort of run into those problems.
Before.
Exactly.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've learned from past issues with that sort of trading.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, talking about some of the other new skills, we had the addition of the rower, which was teased quite some time ago, I think.
Yes.
But you've got it in and working now, and it looks like it's moving around pretty good.
Yes.
It's obviously... you've got like a big downside. If you get knocked off at heavy stun and stuff, you can't use melee from it, so it's for ranged attacks.
Yeah.
But it does seem like one of those things that it's going to be like everyone's going to use or no one's going to use because it's a clear speed machine.
It is a concern. I mean, look, my ideal situation is that you're using it sometimes and not using it other times. Like, if you're using it like during clear, I think it will, like you will definitely want to.
You can't roll, right?
We want to just make sure that we've got like sort of fun things like that. And, like it's just a cool fantasy. Like there's stuff like that I just want to get in, and it's like look, if it doesn't work later, if we have to nerf it, I mean sure, I suppose, but like I want something like that to exist. We believe that it is balanced as much as we can.
You sound very convinced.
Yes, it's balanced.
As I said earlier, you can probably get builds that get to the point of parrying indefinitely. So you can. That means you can probably get to the point of running a roll indefinitely.
Sure.
Again, enough evasion and enough stagger speaking into and all of that.
Yeah.
Well, fundamental question actually. Like, what's its move speed based on? Its own move speed?
The move speed is just your move speed. Like but it's what you don't get is the penalty for when you attack.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But it's funny though, because like even though it doesn't have a move speed bonus, it feels like you're motoring when you're using it, just because of the fact you don't get that downside anymore. Like you feel like the fastest thing on the planet.
It is
when you're doing it.
There are other like more mechanical benefits, like it's considered a companion, which is a kind of subclass of minion that we've added, where you can only have one of each one companion base is a keystone for another. You can only have one of each type. So, like, you can have a tame beast and a rower with the keystone.
Oh, right, yeah.
But inherently, you can only have one companion.
Right, so you can't use a tame beast if you're using the rower.
And then there are heaps of passives for, like, if you have a companion, like companions while they're in your presence and all that kind of stuff. Heaps of that stuff around the bottom of the tree.
Yeah, I saw you guys remade the minion damage, is player damage node on the tree. It's your companion damage nodes become player damage nodes. And I was like, that looks like I'm going to take that.
Well, that's the, like, companion where it's, like, more the... mercenary over to ranger huntress is more like you want your one powerful minion, and benefiting that benefits you and you benefit it, and there's that synergy between you and your companions.
So since it is a companion, I like the idea of like balance wise maybe it ends up being that you're like map clearing on roller back and then you get to the boss and you dismount like old school mounted knights who charge into battle and then dismount and fight.
Yep.
So if it ends up like that seems like that would be a pretty cool balance for it.
That should be the best way to use it, I believe.
Yeah, because then you gain access to your dodge roll for the boss fight where you need it.
Yeah.
And does the rower then kind of do a bit when you're not on it?
It can attack, but I mean, it's not exactly a huge damage source or anything.
It's certainly better to stay at ranged. It's not the most durable of birds, for sure.
But it acts as a distraction. Maybe
I mean, it's a minion, right? Like it attacks things and does stuff.
Yeah, you can support it with minion supports to make it more durable and all of that. So.
Yeah. What about minion speed?
I mean, there's the one that's like the minion takes 10% of the damage before you do. So sacrificial bird.
Yeah, true.
Poor little guy. So that sounds. I'm looking forward to playing around with that one then. speaking of new content, 100 new uniques this time. Mm-hmm. So how many are you aiming for? Kind of in general, is this about really
Yo,
like
talk
filling out
shit
the
about the
roster?
current
we
PO2
want to
uniques,
have
Ziggy.
every base type have a unique for the purposes of chance.
Outside of boss uniques.
Outside of boss unique. So we want every
on
base
top.
type to have to have a unique that you can chance. And
Yes,
so that
okay.
was with the eventual goal. One of the things, of course, that we had that was sort of a problem in early access is
uniques
that
are shit.
because of the way, because when we were designing uniques, we kind of designed them like in order of from base type up, just literally because that's the way that like spreadsheets are arranged. It's like we ended up with all the low level uniques
enough,
first,
fair
kind of
enough,
before
That is
the
a
either.
bad
It was
way
kind
to
of
design
it's like
them.
we didn't see that mistake coming. Like it was kind of stupid. Because
thought we thought we'd get
we
through
thought
way
we'd get through
more
them
of
all, right? We were like,
so-
okay, we'll get all the uniques, and so we designed them all. It's like, okay, we'll start working on the art, just go down the list. So then we're like, oh crap, now we don't have very many in-game uniques. This time we're like, okay, we really need to make sure that in-game uniques are a thing. There's way more of them. So the focus really is on making sure there's lots of cool stuff to find. Lots of really chase things that you can get. It's not.
So you discovered the sort order changing in the
Yeah,
spreadsheet.
it does help. Turns out. But effectively, like you should. It should be a lot better, and like there's lots of cool stuff there.
And we're just going to keep going with that, by
yeah,
the
yeah,
way.
of
Like,
course. Yeah.
100 now, 100 later, 100 next. Just keep going until kind of honestly, we never really stop making uniques. Like,
Yeah.
especially anyone familiar with Path of Exile 1's history, is every single expansion since the dawn of time has had new uniques added to it. So
As it should be.
there's
As it should be.
a lot there, and there's going to be a lot here eventually as well. So yeah.
So then let's talk about the idea of like players seeing a unique and be like, 1x, that's not very good. What do you guys want uniques to be in Path of Exile 2?
Jonathan
Like,
got
how
slighted there.
powerful should they be?
felt
What should they be
slighted.
aiming to do? And how should they affect the rares in that slot?
I mean, it's always a tension because we want rares to still matter. Like, we don't want just your character to be just only full of uniques. So it really is like the role can evolve. So at the start of the game, they're really supposed to be more about that. The earlier game uniques are supposed to do two things. One of them is when you find them, they should be powerful for a little while.
Yeah.
But then also they have a some kind of combo thing that you might be able to do with them at end game. But we don't always know exactly what that might be. Like, I mean, we've got sort of ideas, obviously, but it's like we don't necessarily design them to say, okay, this unique definitely has like an in-game build that's going to be actually strong to do with it, and that's because you're kind of putting in things where later on some other mechanic might come along or something might happen, and then people find an interesting interaction, and that's when the unique kind of comes into its own. And I mean that's the same as like Magic card design philosophy, that kind of stuff. You just put in like kind of weird stuff and sort of maybe you find something. But obviously it can mean that when people see a new unique, they might they dismiss it. But then one day they might also be paying vast amounts for it if it becomes a meta build. So you could, but I feel like a game has to have that stuff in it in order to feel like there's lots of interesting ways to experiment.
But
Because like
90% of uniques are
the
trash.
feeling of being the first person to discover some new interaction is an amazing thing, and then when people see something that it like feels smart, and it's like if we don't have uniques that just take chances and do weird shit, we'll never have that kind of stuff happen.
Yeah.
We
So
need-
when we're designing a unique, we don't think about what's the value going to be.
Yeah.
We're not even coming out of it going like this is going to be
what
really
about, is
expensive.
anyone
Or
gonna
this
use
is
it?
going to be really cheap.
Well, in
Like,
some cases,
that's- Well,
you
yeah,
knew what you were
some.
doing with that Herald unique.
Nah, not it's more the charm and. But that's the thing. Are you aiming for the? Honestly, there's someone said the other day they're like, it's a successful unique is one that should be divisive, and I was like, I agree.
Yeah.
For the most part, but not every unique should fill that role. Some should just be clearly, this is powerful, I want it for sure. It is going to be on my build.
chase.
And others are like, what can I do with this now? And then others are just like, we don't know if anyone's going to do anything with this, throw it in. And sometimes it doesn't get anything happen with it for 3 years. But we don't know that necessarily. It's like, let's just take an experiment and throw it in there and let the players figure that out.
Yeah, I feel like you're with a lot of these uniques, you're designing a question. You're just like, I'm going to put something that's a little weird. Maybe someone will figure that out.
Well, I think as Rishi called it, it's a puzzle piece, right? Yeah. It's just a piece in the puzzle. You put it there, and maybe someone will complete the puzzle or half of it. Maybe not. And then others where it's just like, yeah, this is powerful.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
have
there
it.
are definitely some chase uniques in this. In this
Yeah,
situation.
100%.
Oh,
Okay.
definitely.
Goddamn bad. That's what we want.
So
we need something that are powerful.
on chase uniques, then we've obviously had some like pretty crazy ones.
I
so
want
far.
some scaling ones.
Where do they want to be
Like
in terms
Onigoroshi.
of like how hard they are to get for players? Because at that point, you do need
Right.
to consider like how
So
expensive they end up being.
it's really tricky. So whenever we're looking, so if there's a unique that's broken, I guess there's two responses, right? One of them is make it rare enough that you only get the brokenness after the point when you're at the point where you're supposed to get that, right?
Yep.
Which is to say, like, post pinnacle boss type,
You win.
like a level of character
Yes.
development, right? And then the other response would be nerf the actual unique, and it honestly is a case by case. Like, I think that like Temporalis, for example, actually got nerfed in both ways. The
Yeah, it
actual unique was nerfed a little bit, I believe, although I don't believe it's maybe as much as what players might expect. But then also you've got okay, whatever. But also we have made that one rarer.
It's
in
still
terms of getting-
still pretty crazy.
Oh,
in
it's
the
still
right
crazy
sense,
for sure,
yes.
for sure. But the thing is like you want to chase stuff, right? So therefore you don't want to just go nerfing everything into the ground the moment that it's
Yeah.
good. Therefore that one becoming rarer, I think, was the right answer there, because it was way too common. Just due to the
We had also the issues with there were three real issues. One is darkness at one point bypassed honor loss, so all of a sudden a no-hit run. It wasn't a no-hit run.
Yeah.
You had guard bypass honor loss, so once again a no-hit run is not a no-hit run. And then there was just like, well, how can anything hit you if you can kill literally everything on your screen in one frame, right? So those three problems, and so as
That's every
the
single
balance
no
issue
run.
of not everything surviving for more than one frame due to a subset of builds, and those other two things go away, it becomes a lot rarer in itself.
Yeah.
That it is much harder to acquire, require like very specific
And duplication.
ideally high skill gameplay.
Remember when they duplicated it?
And then there's just like, well, it also was just too common, the relic that yielded it.
I mean, the expectation was that, because this is a hard challenge, most of the time when people try, they will fail. But the reality is once you get the ability to do it, you just trade for that thing and get it every time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of meant that the
Printing.
rarity kind of didn't work like we thought. And, now that should be better in both ways.
Again, for the PoE 1 players comparison, like it was far more common than Original Sin. Which was the same role in PoE 1's version of the Sanctum, just to give us some sort of comparison.
It's just much easier to actually reliably do it.
I'm not
And
supposed
it
to out
shouldn't have
locked
been
in.
that much more common.
Right.
Yeah, gotcha. So crafting really surprised me. You guys announced. I thought we'd maybe get like one little thing. Maybe you'd do something with essences or something. But we've got essences coming out a lot more. It
How
looks
common
like
is the fracture?
because you're violent. You can
So
into
greater
graders
essences,
now.
greater essences are going to be much easier to get. One thing we didn't mention in the video is that like omens are way more common because I believe you made the change. There's an omen in every
2.5 times more common, I think.
than every
Sweet.
thing. So like you've got stuff like that. Like
I never
we
looted a
certainly
single one, no
knew that
crafting
we
one.
needed to do more with what crafting stuff, and so we're kind of like, well, let's just make sure we're at least adding 3 or 4 things, like new things to. And,
Every ritual will now have at least one omen in the window.
Amazing.
So you can know upon finishing a ritual, you're like, what is the omen I'm going to get, and hope it's a good one. And
Love it.
maybe most often it's not, but
But yeah, the greater essences, obviously, the Varlorb thing makes it much more common.
Hate
There's
ritual.
more sources
Hate
of them with the
fuck
map
ritual.
and everything like that. So that'll be happening more. And then, of course, there's the improvements to things like the runes. We've got higher level mods that you can get from them. There's like a ton more runes. There's like, we just wanted to expand the set and having the kind of like, the niche mods that you can get and craft onto things, like it just needed more options. And it's sort of interesting because like some people say, oh, you don't have crafting in PoE 2 because we don't have a crafting bench. But it's like we actually have a huge number of crafting options, and the crafting being good kind of comes down to like how many of these kind of weird systems are there and how they
Who's
can
making
interact.
that argument?
But we just have to be really careful because you don't want to get to the point where ground items no longer matter.
It's metagraphing
and I
that
think
people
PoE 1
want.
kind of basically did get to that point for various reasons, where like people aren't caring about what's on the ground nearly as much. So we still want to make sure with every change we're making that they still use the ground stuff, that you're still excited for things on the ground, and so that's like a really careful balancing act because they do directly contribute each other. Like the better stuff you can craft, the less important the ground stuff is. So it's a really sort of subtle balancing act. But I think that the stuff we've added here will definitely push things in a way where you feel like there's more smart things that you can do to kind of improve your stuff.
Yeah, well, I think done right, and what you're doing is making sure that the ground items do matter with each of these crafting systems. So
exactly.
you had that fundamental change where you can't just turn an item back into a white item.
Exactly, and that's very important. One of the biggest ones, I think, and that kind of then unlocks the ability to do more. And so the great thing about the socketables as a crafting system is that they don't compromise the ground at all, because they don't, they're on top of the stuff that you can get on the ground. So that's very good. But when it comes to the kind of the base mods, we do want to retain, that an item has. We do want to retain, for the most part, the kind of thing of that part of the item generation is random. It's just that, it's just that on top of that, you get the more deterministic things that you can add in addition to. And then when you do it that way, it works really well. So socketables work really well as a crafting system for that reason.
Well, so on that topic, we've had this talking to you. It's like you're always saying to me that this rune system is our crafting bench, but players don't keep asking for a bench anyway.
Right.
So obviously there's a branding issue or a functionality gap.
So it is funny, because I was actually saying the other day that if we had literally had that system be identical, except that the way it was themed was that there's a crafting bench you go to and craft extra mods on the items, which literally be functionally the same, I think, and required materials that are effectively the runes that you get. Then I feel like people would be thinking that we've got a crafting bench. But yeah, ultimately that is the rune system. The socketables are what replaced the crafting bench in the PoE1 style crafting bench.
This is a fucking
I guess it must have also been with that initial kind of output of them was just not as many options as
100% as well. So that is the issue, and that's because they were relatively late in development. So now we're just sort of expanding that, and we'll continue to add more socketables probably with every release, right? We'll add more categories of them, or do different things. It's expanding the kind of type of mods, because there is a thing where it's the more in the base mod pool for items, there can only be things that are really fundamental, and so anything that's kind of out there, we don't want to put in the base mod pool, because then you end up with this sort of situation where you get items and they've got random shit you don't care about. The crafting is where you want to have all of the kind of stuff that's very build specific. And so adding more mods to that pool so that you can do that is the right idea.
Why is it that you can't socket and rune some things, like non-attack weapons, for example?
Well,
it was more just a choice for asymmetry, where we just wanted these things to feel different. There was also just a little bit of in the future, we'll add some system where we can do something else there. And so just not having everything be completely identical. Much like how, the quality on those weapons works differently, where it affects the skill as opposed to just, base damage.
I do think it is something that we should be probably looking into sooner rather than later, though.
Because the asymmetry things, it's good to have not everything be super homogeneous, but because we're talking about the importance of it being that extra layer of control over your items, which you just don't have if you're doing spellcasting.
Maybe we'll add an Arcanist's bench and theme it that way for those
ones. All right, you forced my hand. I have to bring this up now. Can we get some sort of cohesive, all-in-one bench for disenchanting, salvaging, selling for gold, Arcanist benching at endgame? I get in the campaign.
I said they were going to do this, by the way.
Separate, but at endgame, it's so much clicky. You're
not happy enough with them just being next to each other, putting them next to each other, and
no.
Well, that's all right. I'll think about that one.
It's coming.
I've planted the seeds at least.
I think you're about to set up some affinity. Right. So you just right click the item, and based on the affinity, it'll either sell it,
I like that.
Salvage it,
well, at least for endgame.
Whatever the fuck.
I don't want the world to not feel like it makes sense.
Absolutely.
So, but having it that you can just
you've got your hideout where they're all
it would have to be a hideout related thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, people are putting their NPCs within each other's personal space anyway, so
the
law goes out the window at that point.
For sure.
So we've also got Fractured, crafted via an orb from the
That
cleansed
better be common, bro.
How rare are those?
Please be common.
Not
super.
How do you quantify rarity like
Come
that? On. They drop from the monsters.
About the same as their casual.
I can't remember the exact number, but I think I was kind of saying one per biome, which is the kind of total blob of cleansed monsters. But then that obviously does get affected by things like pack size and all that on top of that.
So is that 5 maps or something?
Well, it depends on how many of them you kill as corrupted.
Yeah,
because the ones you didn't cleanse while you were getting to the Nexus, those are the ones that then become cleansed. So you kind of have to choose, when you go into a biome, am I going to beeline straight for the Nexus and then cleanse everything, or am I going to just fight them all as corrupted to get the rewards from that? So you're kind of choosing one reward or the other based on what you decide to run.
Okay, so you can kind of leave the Nexus for last if you want to.
Yes, if you want to
use it to try and get more fractured orbs.
Well,
it's the other way around. Do Nexus first, then it cleanses all the maps, and then now you can get the most chance at fractured orbs, or you can fight them corrupted before going to the Nexus if you want to get the rewards that the corrupted maps have.
And we have for example, the corrupted bosses have their own uniques now.
Yeah, so you're gonna want
There's a bunch of new
That's really cool. I like that when you
modifiers,
get to target your in-game.
So there's like random
That's cool.
corrupted strongbox kind of things and all of that stuff.
Clever.
So you kind of really are gonna have a look at the mods.
Because I
like
hate
this,
the Beyond
this,
monsters.
then the Nexus, and then I'm gonna do the rest cleansed.
Does the cleansed boss have its own uniques as well?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
It does have. It guarantees a fractured orb though as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So you can get the boss.
So and you'll display if you hover over the map and it says like contains I can't remember his name. Then you run it and kill it, you will get a fractured orb. So
You remember, fractured orbs are nowhere near as good as they used to be.
So with the fractured orbs
Because you
being
can't
ray fracturing, that's
roll.
obviously super powerful for crafting. Are there any fractured items dropping pre-fractured? I quite liked that.
That's fun.
I think we went with no in the end.
Yeah,
we were
no.
going to do it, but then we decided not to. But we might do it later.
Yeah,
No,
so
we'll
an
do it
extra
later. They
add-on.
will.
Is there a particular reason
will.
for it or thought process for that?
There just kind of wasn't anything that really fit that exactly. I think
At some point, you'll want some
The
new
cleansed
things.
monsters?
Yeah,
in
probably.
That,
They drop the
like,
fractured
this
orbs.
is very
Personally,
right
I
there.
would rather just drop more orbs. Honestly, and let people choose how they want to use them.
I like it from the perspective of dropped items matter.
But like
when
RNG.
you're
yeah,
seeing
but
a rare,
they kind
and
of
then
already
you're like,
do.
"Ooh."
They kind of do here anyway because
you do
like,
all the-
because you need that
Yeah.
as the thing of the fractured
It
orb,
makes
so it's
sense.
kind of not necessary. I think.
But you can have your little surprise.
There's other little subtle things, like for example, the cleansed monsters within cleansed maps can't drop equipment as a little thing. So they have much higher. Obviously, they're dropping things more like waystones, tablets, currency. They don't get to drop any of the armor or anything. So they're more like currency sources. Is like an interesting
Yeah,
subtle thing.
if you want more currency, then play cleansed maps.
You know,
So we're gonna have a lot more essences, a lot more omens, potentially ability to get fractured,
Mm-hmm.
recombination with the
Yeah.
new, more accessible at low and mid tier
design
recombination.
4.0. Yeah.
This is yes, recombination's certainly undergone some changes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge leap forwards compared to 0.1's crafting.
For sure.
So was it just about that you had to establish that really like humble baseline for crafting so that you could then go crazy with it like this?
Honestly, I mean, look, on some level, it can just be, like you need an economy. You need to see how things evolve. We just don't want to do too much at once. I mean, although this may seem like quite a lot. I mean,
It does, yeah.
but the thing is like, but in terms of the initial system, it's like if we'd have had all that at the start,
Yeah.
I think that we wouldn't have been like, we'll put it this way: it is hard to take the stuff away, so that's why we
Yeah.
have to be a little bit careful as we do this.
Yeah, I guess you needed to kind of assess the fundamental things like the no scours, the no
Yeah, 100%,
bolts and stuff like that as well, because then you can have a better idea of how to build off that, which I'm super excited for. Crafting.
But of
Yeah,
course, and if
actual
you know
crafting.
us, like more, there'll be more. There's always going to be more.
Oh yeah.
so.
Oh, you gotta have a new craft for every league, right? That's how it is these days.
Right, Dan, better be
I
right.
expect a crafting system for every
Exactly.
league. Thank
Yep,
you.
something like that.
That's somewhat actually our intention. So
yeah.
I love it. Love it. Perfect. So let's talk about Endgame then, because that had some humble origins as well with the initial implementation of PoE 2's Endgame. Obviously trying some new things, being a bit experimental, not necessarily just wanting to copy PoE 1's Endgame. But how far of your vision was 0.1's Endgame? Was it what you want?
I would say that the main problem that we had is there wasn't enough overlapping axes of randomness, as we call them, where effectively you need to have it so that when you go into a map, there's just chances for random shit occurring, and then that random shit like might happen alongside some other random shit, and then now the thing together is like a new scenario. So I mean, effectively,
Random
like
shit squared.
yeah, exactly, right. So let's like if you look at what we actually added here in terms of like encounters, if you will, whatever that means to you, like we've added kind of more than 40, probably something approaching 50 encounters, and that's if you count things like each rogue exile is a separate one, and each spirit's a different one, and things like that, right? So those are the things. But the big difference between the ones we had before and the ones we have now is that most of these ones can overlap with other things. So you have a situation where you've got the Asmeri wisp that like happens to infect the unique boss of the area, and then that leads to a combat situation that you haven't had to deal with before, or then like you've got some essence thing that like or like oh crap that like this other wisp like caused the thing to turn into a boss that then it's just like it's all that stuff combining, or like what happens when this goes with a with a unique strongbox, and it's like all that combining stuff, and that's what leads to the situation where you've got an exponential explosion of like possible combat situations, and then sometimes you just run into stuff that you've never seen before because of that, because of this combined in some interesting way. And that's something that definitely PoE 1 has got very well, because it's got so many of these things that have been added over time. And it's also something that we took care to make sure that each league specifically did. So what PoE2 lacked was, I think, that. And so that will mean, I think, that the end game is overall just much more engaging. Now, obviously, we're going to be adding more content and, more of the other stuff. But
I want unique
fundamentally,
maps.
it's like it was specifically more of that type of stuff that we needed to
Rare,
do.
unique
And honestly,
maps.
I don't think we've even got enough yet. Like, we want even more.
That are
Like,
powerful.
we'll keep on adding that stuff, but it needed to become a focus. And
Like the
I think
seer.
part of the reason is that, like, when you're
So you
like
explore
when we're
and you-
first working
you
on the
find
end
some
game, it's right.
crazy
It's like we
map.
need to come up with the big ticket items, right? Like what are the
Yeah.
the league things and like the maps, and like we need to come up with all that stuff. And so it's the little detail-y kind of things that kind of a little bit require a bit more like time and stuff to work on. Even though they're actually like relatively efficient to make. Like we can make a lot of them when we do actually sit down and design them, because they're like making a new strongbox. Like sure, it's like it's work, but it doesn't take like that long, if you know what I mean. But it is. But it is that stuff that really adds all the flavor and kind of interest. So we'll just be continuing to do that through the
I think
game.
it's
I mean,
replayability.
even yesterday we were having a conversation about like making it so more of the maps, even just like regular maps, have more interesting just little things that happen in them and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like more like what the campaign has.
Love that.
So we haven't like got there yet, but like as through early access, we'll definitely be just like introducing more of those little details everywhere, so that you get the interesting things happening.
Yeah, so a bit like those exploration mechanics in campaigns.
100%, yeah,
could be a
exactly.
thing
That's just we just want to make sure that you feel that same way through the end game as well.
And with the leagues as well.
Yeah.
And like, there's really only so much randomness that can occur within a breach in a map, and so they
Yeah.
will end up feeling ultra repetitive. Whereas, and again, in PoE 1, you had the boss that could spawn occasionally. You had 5
Yeah.
different factions.
Yeah, yeah.
Things like that. And it is very much our intention to expand on all the leagues, to have way more random things occurring, mini
Right, yeah.
bosses spawning. Whatever else, I have a whole set. I don't want to spoil them all yet, because that's a whole later thing. But definitely want to expand on all that. Even Expedition only has the one boss. It had 4 in the predecessor. We need to get back to having all of that depth and all of combat and all of those mechanics, and it'll help hugely, while also making sure we're adding new ones, of course. But what we definitely have learned is that our minimum standard for new ones is going to it should include all of these things from the get-go.
Right.
Otherwise, we're just signing ourselves up for like, here's 1,000 things we need to improve.
Right.
It'd be nice to actually get some of them finished. So that's going to be a goal going forward for sure.
But I think it's like it is where our type of design shines, because like adding content is no longer a process of like, we work on a thing and then the players get to play, like it gets into a situation where like adding content has more value than just the content itself, because it adds to everything else too. And so that kind of makes it feel like the world gets like larger in much larger proportion than what you have. And so like, it's an n squared thing where like, the square of all the stuff we add. So that, like basically it'll feel like it's ramping up in terms of interest as we add more content, rather than just feeling like you're just continuing like rather than every league thing, like you just add the same amount. It'll feel like it gets even bigger each time.
Yeah, like when you add Asmeri Wisps, that's not just about adding that. It interacts with all the other things that already exist that it can
Exactly.
go ahead and affect. So that's tackling one of the, ultimately, I think the biggest things is just that like the core basic mapping of running an empty map was boring. And that's never what you want to be, obviously.
Yeah, we just get it.
So like some of the issues there, I guess, as well, that were exacerbated by that problem was the fact that the maps were so big and that there were so many of them. Obviously, that's getting a lot better with the maps themselves becoming much more interesting. But it seems like this corruption and cleansing mechanic is breaking up and giving you something to progress through as you move towards the next tower or next boss or next other mechanic. I mean, I guess there's always something on your screen that you're pushing towards, it looks like.
Well, we want to try and honestly, I don't even think we're even quite there yet. Like, we really want to make it so that you feel like there's lots of quests, as it were, in endgame. Like, not necessarily directly in the form of like, here is a quest objective, but like that you sort of have this feeling of like, there's like different stuff that you're like that you feel like, there's a thing, like exactly right. You need to ideally like every time you do one of those, it's like there's another one just on the horizon that you're thinking
They don't
about.
want to be told do exactly this.
If we can achieve that, then we'll have succeeded. But
I want to run a kill bus
keep adding stuff, right?
I
Like
want to clear
just
the
more and more
track,
things, because obviously you need to have
I want
enough
to full
just
clear the whole map.
core there to be able to get to the point of it doesn't feel like you're just repeating the same thing over and over again as well.
It seemed like this like explorable world map thing that you did for Endgame, being like looking like a physical actual map, was really wanting us to explore, but that wasn't really much of that. So you kind
Yeah,
of
well, I mean, ideally we can. It's just about content, really. At that point, you
Mm.
just need to add more. And
You need
and
more
keep-
things
keep
like
on
the
adding more.
seer.
And this
We'll
should- this-
100% get more of it.
Yeah, and 0 to
Crazy
0, I think
rare,
there's a long way to improve.
unique
that.
encounters.
so with
that
the
you
corruption
can
mechanic now,
find
you're
by
going to see some
exploring
corruption on the
map.
map, and you're going to
I'm
want to go there
telling you.
because it's a system that
Yeah,
you can
yep,
interact with.
exactly.
It's your skill points.
yes.
Yes.
So you're unlocking skill points from that, which means you're unlocking more of the Atlas tree earlier on.
Your first Nexus, you have to run at a tier 1 map, and it will
Great.
drop 2 skill points. It'll give you your first two skill points.
Awesome.
And then you're like, all right, where's my next Nexus? That's where I'm going for my next 2. And then your next one, and you have to do them 1 tier higher every time. So the second one you got to do at tier 2 to get your skill points and so on and so forth.
It's
And
not just
that's it.
it's not just grind 10 maps.
Yeah, that was terrible.
good. I love it.
So yeah, it is very much like let's go and clear these corrupted Nexus, and then it's like, well, and there's the whole mechanic around it.
What is that, my
but yeah,
friend?
if you want to just like full, I want to get
Get
my
back
points
to
as
your
fast as
north.
possible. Just go Nexus to Nexus to Nexus and get as many as you can. If you're like, oh, I can't see any Nexus, maybe go to a tower to reveal more, and then what you're doing way less frequently, mind you. Thank goodness.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a lot more objective driven as opposed to just again random grind and random exploration. There's at least, and you should be seeing a pretty decent chunk of unique maps.
I was going to ask, yeah.
I call them
It's
unique
funny,
maps.
it's funny because I was pointing out to Mark the other day that the distinction between a unique map and a normal, like there is no distinction anymore. We shouldn't even look at that way. Like it should be that every map is like unique in some sense.
There's not a unique
there's
map
not a
system.
unique
We have
map.
an
Yeah,
icon. We do have an icon for it because they are kind of in a different echelon.
Yeah.
But yes, technically,
Those are
unique map
key.
is a name that's a holdover from PO1.
Yeah, because
and-
you can
yeah.
use mods with them with waystones anyway.
these-
So it doesn't. There's no actual
True.
reason for a unique to be any different than a normal map.
You can craft
It's
it
just,
and enhance it.
it
and
really
juice
just
it.
it really just comes down to how rare they are relative
Yeah.
to other things, right? So
And how rare are
They
they?
need
How, like,
lots of
I
those.
mean,
maybe
again,
in
so hard to
terms of
explain.
player
Lots of
screens.
super
yeah, I mean,
rare
look,
maps.
as I said, I think
How many
that
screens?
How many?
that are completely different to your
I had
standard
the numbers.
gameplay
I
experience.
just don't remember them.
And
well, I mean,
really
as I
rewarding.
said, they should be common enough that you feel like there's always some kind of objective you're excited about on the screen, right?
Honestly, more common than I was initially comfortable with, and then after trying it, I was like, okay, actually, this is like,
Yeah.
this is reasonable. So
Yeah, I feel like you initially probably want them to be common enough that you're like almost getting tired of those map layouts, so then you're incentivized to add more.
The good thing is, by the way, by adding more here, we didn't just keep them the same commonality as the 2 that existed.
Yep.
Like they are just more common. It's not like the reason. Part of the reason it wasn't as common before is because there was only 2, and
Yep.
that would have just been repetitive and boring. One of the other restrictions is that like the Vault of Kamasa was restricted to the Val City biome, so to speak, and that was one of the Citadel biomes. That's like one of the rarest and latest,
Yes.
So it's like we've not only made that more common within that biome, but a lot of the new one, in fact, all of the new ones aren't restricted to those city biomes, and thus they are appearing more frequently. And some of them are like, oh, you want deserts because they give you the essence map, or you want the mountain because they can give you this and that, So
Ah.
like, ideally, there's a little bit of just like you see the edge of a desert, and you're like, oh my god, please.
Yes. Okay. So that's what I was going to say. This like idea of exploration is like I felt there needed to be something biomes where
Rare
like
biomes.
you're actually pushing into a biome because there's that one node that like affected your drops slightly.
Well,
but obviously that's
you
not
do
much,
that
The,
if
but-
the one that was the shattered lakes, for example, as you can probably imagine, only spawns in the water biome, and so there's a little bit of like,
should have
you know,
rare
and
biomes.
so does Untainted Paradise, and so does one other. So there are actually 3
Ooh, okay.
special maps that can spawn only in the water.
An enchanted
Okay,
biome.
So go to the water.
Where every map there has like 400%
And
quant, bro.
otherwise, how easy is it to find? You said there was an icon. Obviously, you kind of have an idea of what biomes. Is it like also something that's pretty visually
Oh, there's art there, yeah.
spottable on the map?
There's-
Yeah, so the one we
looks
looked at with the
interesting.
one we
Biome of
looked at with the
riches.
megaliths, which had all the storm and lightning. Well, on the map, it has a bunch of storm and lightning.
Cool.
So yes.
That's awesome. Cute.
Dude, the
That's
richest
great.
biome. Every single.
So we
only
mentioned
currency drops.
the Atlas passive tree, and you're seemingly, I think, you're getting better progression of that. But definitely an issue I had with it personally was that it felt very top heavy, both for the core one and also especially for the league mechanics, where like the league mechanics you don't get points until you kill the bosses, which to me feels like the end of it for most players.
That kind of was the original pitch of that, and I wouldn't say that's really changing here, but there is more we want to do with that, and I think that it could be made better, but 0 to 0 isn't getting a change there to that side. But in terms of the actual core Atlas, it definitely is. You know, like you're getting that earlier. There's more. It's a bigger tree. There's more interesting stuff.
There's subtle changes to getting them in the sense that, like, for example, the difficulty 0 pinnacle bosses are way lower life.
Well, that's actually
now.
good. That's actually a very good point. So yes, difficulty 0 is now like half the life that it had before. And so that's like a pretty
But
substantial
difficulty
change.
4 is currently the same
Yep.
as what it was before. So it's same top end, but like easy, more accessible for more people at the bottom end.
That's good for me.
And then also because of like,
Good for me, guys.
due to the reliquary key
buff.
working the way it does, all pinnacle bosses can drop all uniques at all difficulties, except they are like substantially less common at difficulty 0, but you feel way less bad for running them at that point now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, it's just opening that up to a lot more people to farm, and it's not so much dependent on if your build can't do difficulty 4, you're not really a viable character kind of mindset.
So much more easy onboarding for those.
Which will
pinnacle
give you your
bosses now.
first sets of points certainly a lot easier now. That being said, not if you're playing the most broken build of all time, because you're probably nerfed into the ground, let's be real. So with your new build,
Hell
we'll have to see
yeah.
how that
Well,
balance
with
goes.
their
but-
new broken build.
yeah,
that's
well,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, with the spectre that
one of those
instantly
spectre
obliterates the boss.
builds, yeah.
My 2000
Anyway,
DPS spectre build.
The ultimate point being, yeah, you're certainly going to get those initial set of points easier than before. However, you are right that something isn't quite right there still, and I do need to kind of explore.
We are going to do more with this like later. We've talked about this issue, but we didn't have time to do anything about it in 020 as much. But certainly by the end of early access, I think that system will probably look quite different.
Part of it also, as we are talking about before, adding all those extra bits of content to the leagues, it'll help give more interest to the trees and more nodes we can add to actually invest into. Because if you think about a breach, there's only so much you can actually modify right now. Right, there's a level of radius, speed, density of monsters, and like sure there's the standard stuff with monsters, but like you can only go so far when you don't have all of that depth of different factions and different bosses and different mini bosses and different itemizations or additional things with catalysts and whatnot. Like you are quite limited in how expansive a tree can be, and so it'd be nice to get those things in and also kind of look at the trees at the same time and reevaluate how that works, just so we can have them be more interesting while we're at it.
Right.
But yeah.
And now with the pinnacle bosses, if you're like halfway through a level, you don't need to. Oh, maybe I'll do that when I get the rest of the level now.
Yes, that was a good change. So yeah, as he was saying, as you were saying, you no longer gain experience or lose experience anymore from pinnacles, so you could just feel free to do them anytime. I think that's just a straight up upgrade, and I think that it's not like you were playing pinnacle bosses for experience.
No.
So the downside is
This is a hardcore nerf.
Really.
It's a hardcore nerf.
It also is the nice thing of really just keeping, like, if we add more leagues, for example, and we end up with a Domain of Timeless Conflict problem, where it's just like rotations to max level, like ultra
Yes,
ultra
we
quick.
don't want that type of
Like,
content to
at
be the
least
way you
now
level.
we can say like
Yeah.
maps are the way you level, like that is what you're doing. And sure, you might get some sort of unique map rotation here, and maybe not. I don't know.
Fucking rotors,
Depends.
bro. Fucking
But
just play
hopefully we can
SSF,
avoid
pussies.
that. But either way, like it's
Play
just really you're
SSF.
playing in maps to level, and that's what you're doing.
It's
And there's
not,
something
that's not
nice about
itemized
that.
content, right?
At least,
though? It wasn't-
at least until we've added Delve.
Well, sure. I mean, there will be future parallel in-game systems, right? Like,
Confirmed.
That's common.
I know you want to do something
Ah,
like
yes,
Delve.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you're a fan. You're a fan. I mean, you made the end game look like Delve, so
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been a long-term problem, and one we need to properly apply to the other game as well. That the whole like can't do my content because I got a level, and I'm like, even if you're only like 15% in, you're like, oh.
Yeah. It's just not as bad.
Yeah.
It's just not as bad in PoE1 because the leveling is faster.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
it hasn't been on our radar as much.
So, speaking of like map progression, there's been some fundamental changes there. You're telling me that now you can no longer drop maps below your current level of map.
It's correct. So yes, you no longer get if you're playing a T5 map, you're only going to get T5 maps, or if there's a boss there, a T6 map. But we've also smoothed the way the whole progression works. So we've actually the map drops are way less random now entirely.
Okay.
When you kill the last rare in a map, that has a it can affect it. At T1, that was a 100% chance to
I
drop another
hate
map
that
at the same
last
tier.
rare bullshit,
And
dude.
then as you go up the tiers,
Fuck the last rare.
you can still sustain that using Waystone chance. So effectively, it's de-randomized that a lot. And then
I
the
don't
way
like that.
there are several ways that you can get upgrades. So in terms of like going up the tiers. So one of them is that when you kill a boss, that's a guaranteed +1 upgrade. then of course you can still cube them up, 3-to-1 recipe to go up a level, or you can run it corrupted. And if you're running a corrupted map, then because it drops the same tier, that's like a sort of guaranteed. When I say corrupted, I mean the one that
Valorb corrupting up plus
corrupting up +1. That lets you do the run them the same level as well. So you've kind of got those 3 options, but it's much more intentional now. It's like if you're going up maps, it's like you're deciding, okay, this is a thing I am doing. You don't just kind of have that like it doesn't just happen. So it's kind of supposed to make the jump.
Determinism.
Like, if you're just looking to sustain, you can do that, pretty much guaranteed. And unless you're dying more than the number of times you've got portals,
I hate
which is
kill or
obviously,
res.
the thing now that you can go through portals again, the sustain is going to be a lot easier if you are dying.
Yeah.
But
I
then
hate
it's like
kill or
once
res.
you've achieved that, it's like okay, you effectively can sustain forever. Like the cases where people just drop off the bottom and have issues should be like way less common.
Ultimately, it's way less random, way more deterministic.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you can, as long as you are able to do the not die all the time, you will sustain that tier forever.
Right.
Assuming you can roll enough, that high enough mod count, and there is a boss here. I'm going to go up a tier.
Yeah.
And you go for the boss, you kill the boss, you go up a tier.
And if you
And then you sustain that tier forever as long as you can do the difficulty.
Yeah.
It's
And if-
just very clean.
And if you're adding more mods, which you do need to be doing to continue to maintain 100% ability to go up tiers, then and if you're doing that early, you're getting more maps than what other people are getting, which means you can do the cubing as well. Like it's just kind of like it just much more effectively gets the thing where good players can advance at the right speed.
I take a look
Normal
at like
players
this.
don't fall off the bottom of the curve.
Right.
It kind of solves all of those
That's
issues
RNG.
like without. But also, you're not going to have just like hordes of low level waystones that you don't need as well. So
We have a map
like
tab now,
And
right?
just no, it does. There are still.
Surely.
You can get to the highest tiers relatively quickly. You have to prove you're good enough, your character's good enough. But if you're doing it, you
Dude,
get there,
what
right?
is that?
It's pretty quick, and you can take it at your own leisure as well, and that's completely fine. So it's not like,
Recombinator.
we've made it way longer to get to tier 15. Like none of that is really the case. It's just that before you could luck into getting to tier 15 quickly, with some level of biasing the luck, of course. Or you could just be like, what the heck, I'm like constantly running out and have a really bad time.
Right.
And so now it's just way, way more like predictable and honestly, it probably has way more of an impact on the sustain problem, which we didn't really, which we talked about, which is the respawning. I would argue this thing has like way, way, way more impact on map sustain than the respawning does. I mean, obviously, if they're paired, then they relate.
you need both
but-
because
yeah.
if because the guaranteed drop comes from the final rare. So if you were just dying, you would never get it. So the respawning is necessary in order to make it so that that's going to happen for players.
Unless they
who,
just die 6 times.
and obviously as it gets more difficult, and you get less portals, you start to get to the point where you're going to run into trouble.
Bro,
But
that guy.
if you're a good player, you should be able to get up into the top
Who's
and
he
sustain
called?
very well.
Yep.
You
gonna be so
mentioned the
happy.
idea of maps dropping magic.
The Destiny
by
2
default.
guy.
Yes.
Is that something you're still doing, or
I believe it is.
Yeah,
But
it
no,
was
actually, wait. But there wasn't a concern about that, which I wanted
With
to talk to you
ounce.
about later.
Okay,
which
well,
is
maybe
that-
maybe not.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later
Elon.
because the concern was raised that I think is valid.
Paul
So,
Tassi.
we were going to make it so that maps drop magic and above, but there might be issues. So we'll
Somebody
discuss
tell
that,
Paul Tassi.
later on.
Well,
6
non-decided.
portals.
Yeah,
undecided. Yeah.
undecided? Yeah,
You
He
thought
got
it was
the maps and he
decided,
couldn't.
Got a week
He
left.
lost
Got a
and
week left,
died, and he couldn't
still figuring.
play the game.
It sounds like much more deterministic progression
But
if
yes,
you're
that's
able
the
to
main
prove
thing.
the power that you have.
That's the
Well,
main
it
thing.
just should be, am I strong enough to do this? Yes, I can do it.
Right.
Not, am I lucky enough to do this, and
Yeah.
am I strong enough to do this?
Great.
One of those axes, get out of here.
Why don't you just have a drop-down menu then? At that
So
point.
we've got rogue exiles populating the maps now. How common are these guys?
Put the
Especially
Waystone
with
tier.
unique, since you get their unique guaranteed. I love that. The whole,
It's 1 in 8%, 1 in 12.5 to start with, but of course Atlas
maybe.
tree be Atlas tree, so you can speak into that. And
is there like a map modifier for that or something to guarantee it? Or something like
there
that?
are. I think in this case, this one is the exception, whereas you can get normally guaranteed of the other things. We wanted the exiles to be one that you can't just guarantee all the time.
They don't always have uniques.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they do, they're using them. The AI is very cool, like how it works.
I mean,
So
they can
it's
have
nice.
0, 1, 2. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing stopping them from having uniques in every slot.
What?
But like,
Hell yeah.
it is.
There's a chance that that would be.
It is
incredibly low.
absurdly rare.
I assume it's
Yeah.
just roll per slot, basically, right?
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
roll
it's
per
roll per
slot,
slot.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
you
we're talking
might have a
like
line of just,
fraction of a fraction of a percent
Yeah,
for like
exactly.
all of them, but still like 5 or something like that. Yeah.
it can happen.
But they have quite a lot, like, because they're a player, the assumption is that
Oh,
their
no.
other gear is also relatively good, so they do generally drop are more biased towards dropping higher tier rares and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
they're doing that like full set of items because
Yep,
you've killed
yep,
a player.
yep.
Cool, I like that. I always love that little thing. And I feel like it's even more important here in PoE2. So
Wilderness.
awesome.
It's like
But some of
killing
those
someone
would
in the
be unique,
wilderness.
maybe.
We wanted them to be less common than the other content, but like way more exhilarating when you find them.
Yeah.
That sounds
but of course
fun.
You can speak into them.
It's like killing a person in the wildy and they drop all the gear.
Choice.
Cool. Is there going to be some sort of
Right?
like,
Like, that
warning
sounds
that they're
cool.
coming, or are you going to know they're in the map ahead of time, or are you just going to get ambushed by these guys? Leaf slam from off
You
screen?
won't know they're in the map ahead of time, much like anything random you run into.
But
That's
they
cool.
talk though, and they'll say something before they.
They
Fucking
monologue
bitch.
before they murder
They
you.
do.
Don't know if I'd go quite to quite the level of
Small
Again, when I
monologue,
said
but sure.
when I said some insult you, I'm not joking. Like some do literally insult you.
You
And,
fucking noob.
I believe one of the monks is
0
a
out of 5.
pacifist, and he's like, I don't want to do this. Don't force my hand. He'll do it anyway. But
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just. You're just like running away.
Yeah,
He's like,
exactly.
don't make me
Don't
do
force my
this."
hand. Yeah, exactly.
But look, you can just run away. You know, I really like the here's an occasional spike in difficulty, and again, it's important that they are relatively rare for that reason as well. But I do want it to be when you find one, you are very excited to kill it, and of course, even though they portal out, you still have your number of portals you have. So unless you're running like a full 6 modded Waystone, just get back in there and he's gone, but or whatever, you've lost your uniques or non-uniques, whatever they had, but either way, just move on, you know?
I mean, you guys were somewhat forgiving with this. You didn't make it so that they take your items.
Yes,
I
that
was,
would have been
I
good.
was
That's
thinking
that's
that.
an event. At some
Don't
point,
give me that
guys.
idea.
Yeah.
That's maybe a 1 week event or something in the future.
It'd be
And it's
pretty
like,
easy to do.
just take one of your items.
That's
And then
hardcore
you got a
though.
nemesis system where you can find them and try and get it back in the future.
Softcore cucks.
You need to add the Tame Rogue Exile gem. Higher
I don't tames the right.
Exile.
Exile.
You run up and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can quickly be like, take $1 million gold.
Just give me a little snack. Like, yeah, you want to follow me?
I mean, to be fair, that would be a fun system.
It actually would. That's actually not a bad
Running
idea.
up and just being like, hey, I'm here, give me 100,000
Oh.
gold and I'll be your ally. Is kind of,
I know you've
Come
tinkered with the idea of a hireling system at points
Yeah,
in the
well,
past, so and now you've got your mercenary hireling system, right? Rogue Exiles. They recruit the one with good uniques.
We'll see. We'll see.
Damn.
bit of
That
rabbit
could be
hole,
kind of
yeah.
cool, actually.
So we did have some league mechanics come over from Path of Exile 1, 2, Path of Exile 2. You're going to be looking to port more over. Are you going to be doing some
I've put this
unique
on, by the
ones
way.
that we haven't seen
I've put the-
before?
I mean, we're definitely going to be doing more unique ones that are, that are just completely
yelling
different
too much,
outside
yeah.
of what we've done in PoE 1. Absolutely. But I mean, I think that like sort of the hope in the long term is that each, like, as we kind of get, past the
think
end of
the
early
person that
access
yelling
and as
too
we're
much.
sort of, just going out, that each time we do something, we're both adding a completely new league mechanic, but also potentially bring something back as well, kind of like as another additional kind of like, here's another fun thing. So that's probably sort of what I imagine will happen. But it kind of really is case by case. Like some things we don't want to bring back, some things we do, like, and my opinion can change on a dime as well. Like if someone suggests like a new way to interpret something, then I might be like, oh, actually that is great. So, it honestly, people assume that we have a full plan of literally everything, but it's like in reality it's like it's very much responsive to like what's happening, and like
Where you
the
feel
plan
the
the
needs.
plan the actual plan relates to the things that like are definitely happening, right? You're talking acts, you're talking classes, you're talking like all that stuff is like definitely like that's happening. It takes a long time to produce. It sort of happens in the background. You've got outsources, armies of people kind of working on that stuff, and then all the kind of like more incidentally stuff is very much like, oh, let's do something cool, let's just make this, what if we do this, and we don't have a I don't have a plan for the next 12 strong boxes. It's just just come up with an idea, and like that's cool. Just a fun little project for a designer to work on.
How do you feel like some of the ones that were, I felt somewhat definitively part of Exile 1 in terms of clear speed, like Breach, for example, have settled into PoE 2? Do you feel like they're in a good spot, or were they a good idea to bring over to the game?
Look, I think Breach is. Breach is fun, right? I certainly wouldn't want to remove it. I don't know about there's probably been some balance changes.
I
to
mean,
it
it was
a little bit.
spawning too many
It has,
monsters.
it
Like,
has.
let's just say that without a doubt.
It's much better
yeah.
now to PoE 2 standards, yeah.
It's like currently on PoE 2, it's just too out of control. It just needs to chill.
Right.
There was a little bit of an assumption made where it was just like, well, you'll get overwhelmed by monsters and it's more a matter of survive as long as you can. And then, of course, because you get self-propagating herald builds that are just literally can kill anything.
Which, by the
in
way,
every
heralds
direction.
don't self-propagate anymore.
Just get that out of the way.
Just get that out of the way right now.
The power of the characters kind of
Yeah.
distorted the league balance in a way where it's like we have to make some changes. So yes,
Yeah.
like it's coming down a bit.
I think we saw that
sure.
one coming.
Yeah, well, 100%. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that people will say they saw coming, but it certainly does end up being the case that like the patch notes are. So by the way, we aren't releasing them at the end of this
nerf
live stream.
hammer.
We're going to be releasing them next week.
The
But they
nerf
are
bat.
going to feel like a bit of a nerf fest for sure because like there's a lot of things that needed to get.
Let's talk balance.
Yeah. All right.
My
Settle in here.
expectations
Yeah.
and anticipations
Oh,
are
yeah.
that this
shit.
first one is going to be an absolute wrecking ball of chaos and carnage, and see where things land.
Yeah.
But then maybe over time it'll become a sledgehammer, and then like a fine carpenter hammer.
Sure, that definitely should be the case.
As I said earlier, it's like 10,000 things will change this time. 5,000 things will change next time. Then hopefully we can halve it every single time.
People should really be going in with the expectation that like nothing they knew about how the game was balanced before is the
Forget
same. Just
everything.
forget
That sounds
everything you
fun.
knew.
I like that.
Exactly.
That's
so,
fun.
basically, we'll that kind of just means that like everyone who's finding builds like do it again. Like you are going to find more shit that is like outrageously broken again, but it is not going to be the same shit that was broken before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attribute stacking, get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. So I mean, it's the hope is though that yes, you're right. It'll stabilize to the point, and like I it will take time, but we will get to the point where we no longer have things that are easy to become outrageous with. Right, like the idea is like it shouldn't be that you can just slap a combination of supports together and then like you're just like destroying pinnacles in 14 seconds. Like it should be that.
14's a long time.
Yeah, okay, sure, but
You mean 14? That sounds like terrible.
Yeah,
builds. That's
exactly.
not even on PoE.
Yeah, no,
Ninja.
but that's what I'm saying is with no items, right? But anyway, so the point is that like the first time you fight a pinnacle, it should be a bit of a fight. But then of course you do get back to the ability after like when like kind of like continuing to expand, like continue to develop your character post pinnacle to the point of being able to annihilate them in seconds.
Yeah.
But it's just like that has to be earned. It can't just be that like just a combination of supports that you can get trivially will do that.
Or like a common unique, and then that's it.
Yeah, exactly, right?
and-
So,
yeah.
but it can be. But if you get Temporalis, it's like, well, now, like now you've
Now
got
you're
you've got some shit going on. But it really has to be that there is an economic factor involved in becoming ridiculous.
Yes.
And so it's when that's not the case that we have a problem that we need to hit shit with a big giant balance sledgehammer.
Yeah, so originally I was going to come in and like ask about all the specific things, but we can just assume that like it's not going to be chaos. So
Yeah.
I like the idea instead of focusing on kind of like your core. What are you aiming for? What are your goals? What are your metrics? So
The fuck, Ziggy? Ziggy!
a number of like damage / how fast you kill a pinnacle boss.
Yeah.
that you're aiming for,
Sound
and
guy,
then
sensitive.
how much players can exceed that, and you're like,
Yeah. So it really should be that you're
Ziggy!
as I said, not killing pinnacle bosses that fast at the moment. Like a good sort of benchmark for like just a guy walks in and like has kind of got something that's like not stupid, but also like not like doing something, like not crazy. And we kind of imagine that they should have about 50k DPS doing something like that. But at the same time, anything up to 500k DPS is
10 times
is also okay. And well, that'll take you from taking a 3-minute fight down to like a 20-second fight. Like that's your range of like potentially acceptable kind of things going on. But if you're doing above that, then you're in like we're probably going to nerf you territory at some point. So that's
10
kind of like
million?
the thing. Now it's worth mentioning that like we've lowered like the life of pinnacle bosses to get that to be right and sort of things like the difference between a T15 boss and a pinnacle boss was just way too much. So that has been that's been sorted out. Like it's things like that we just need to sort of get things in the right
What are
place.
they on the
here.
Hammer of the Gods?
So that's a
It
sort of
got destroyed,
expectation.
didn't it?
Now obviously people are going to still find ways to get 10 million DPS somehow, I'm sure, even though we're like nerfing many things.
We'll have it in POV before
But
that leak.
the thing I think that when we're talking about
want
nerfs and
builds.
how we want to do, my key thing that I want to try and achieve always is that whenever we're nerfing something, we're only nerfing the thing that was particularly like we're nerfing as little as possible to make it so that the average Joe who works in and just tries to do stuff is not getting affected by it.
Yeah.
Like it should only be the like ridiculously broken synergy thing that kind of like has some way of dealing with it that's actually affected by this.
The Quinn builds, the banning Quinn builds.
I'm struggling to think of an example off the top of my head. Maybe you've got some of like a way that a targeted nerf that kind of
Well,
like,
I mean, like say lightning conduit, you're not going to reduce the base damage of it because someone's able to hit for 150 million with one hit from it. Like that comes from the compounding, like
Yeah.
top end levels
Some
of
multipliers.
exposure, stacking, conductivity, and more so shock
Yeah.
effect. right? So it's more about like take away from the shock effect scaling side of things there and increase the base damage even, you know, like do changes like that where it's like for an average person it's now better, and for someone who is absolutely abusing's not the right word because like they're doing the right thing technically by their standards, that are using all those extreme factors, you know, bring those down a little bit, keep those regulated, and like it'll increase the average user's experience while narrowing, you know, bringing this down and bringing this ideally up a little bit in a lot of cases.
I like the idea that I felt it's somewhat reassuring to hear that there was actually kind of like a math here. Like ultimately you're saying bosses have X amount of hit points. It has 500k hit points, and so we expect players around 50. Yes. Right. So that's a clear number. like we know that. Oh yeah, and we're okay with you killing that like 10 times faster than we expect.
Right.
But it's when you get it down to 1 second.
Exactly.
Then we're
10,
like,
10 times is fine, right?
And the problem with the more DPS you have, it is now I have to dodge less.
Yeah.
I get more crowd control.
There's a snowball.
Game's a bit
you know, it is. It really is. So
it's easy
you're
mode.
always going to be
Meta build versus
incentivized
ethical
to do
build.
that, and yeah, you get to this weird thing where now it's just like, okay, well, I think you after a while was like, I haven't actually seen a pinnacle boss fight that lasted more than 2 seconds.
That was really sad to me. Probably the saddest thing about the early access launch to
Did
me
you not watch
was
my
seeing the
fight?
first pinnacle boss fight, and it just like, and it's like, oh, you know, like it's like nobody had to care about the mechanics. The first time
gave
was
it so
fun.
many skills.
Exactly, right? Like
my
there's so
first
many
time was
skills and
long
all
as
these things,
fuck,
and it's like none of
Jonathan.
it mattered. It's like that's sad.
Yeah.
So
Mine
yeah,
was long as
ideally
fuck,
we're
and then I
supposed to.
died.
Now I hope that doesn't happen again, but honestly, it's probably wishful thinking.
As I said,
yeah.
10,000 things before, there's still going to be
There's still going to be
many
more, and
thousand.
it will happen every time. And
It's-
people will find stuff, but we'll.
I'm playing ethical
Look, this-
builds.
again, by the end of early access, I want to say we're going to be in a real fucking good spot with this in
Yeah,
a way
yeah.
that is not going to have so much abusive stuff. And getting rid of that whole, I feel like I have to play X. Like,
Yes,
it is
that,
very
100%
demoralizing to players
Yes.
when they
Yeah.
played their thing,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden something comes out, and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
I
And
gotta
so
change over to this.
the way you will know that we're successful is because you get more diversity in classes,
Yeah.
because it means that there's no longer the thing that everyone has to play because it's easy to be
I mean,
successful.
you definitely saw that where it's like
Yeah.
the comments of any build guide. It's like, oh, another Archmage build. Oh,
Exactly.
oh, it's just Heralds again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
It's-
this isn't even a build. This
go-
is just Herald again.
You go look at like what are all crossbow people playing, and crossbows is
Herald.
actually the least used weapon type, and so you specifically start there, and you're like, okay, well here's a bunch of people using these skills: hand of wisdom in action, hand of wisdom in action, hand of
Oh, yeah.
wisdom. Okay, well never mind. The crossbows are relevant, right?
Yeah. Even without stat stacking, still better.
Yeah,
than
and
Herald
it's
was,
like,
so-
okay, well, you know, obviously take some away from there, and then it's like, okay, well, what are you left with? Well, you're still left with probably crossbows are bad. So, what do you have to do? And it's like, you know, crossbows now, for example,
Nerf
just a
everything
quick
else.
change is like
So
instead of using
crossbows.
one-handed damage mods for added damage, they use two-handed and their base damage. And then all the skills now have a higher growth per level
Damn.
because they scale with other external factors like attack speed less because they have the reload time. So
Damn.
they will be getting more damage per level, whereas before
the
most
crossbow
skills were very
bleed build.
consistently growing per level. So almost every spell would get the
Okay.
same amount of damage per level, regardless of everything else it had. And this is how you got things like Spark just being the dominant skill, you know, out of control, because it scales not only that, it scales obviously the number of projectiles kind of out of control, and with projectile and
Yeah, you can
duration
walk
and
while
other
attacking.
multiplicative scaling factors, you'll end up with just like, well, of course I'm just going to Spark everywhere. And so now it's like, well, Spark has these other multiplicative things, so it should get less damage per level. And this was in PoE 1 and was the right answer, and we somehow didn't replicate that exact thing that we did.
Focus the
yeah,
fuck
everything's
up.
got the same damage growth.
Yes, we end up with exactly the same. So now every single skill we're looking at it and going, you're going to scale more, you're going to scale less, you're going to scale more on the
like
damage
that.
axis because they have other things that scale.
And this just means that, like, when you're asking, well, what skills have changed? Well, the answer is literally all of them. Like,
Yes.
no skill will have the same damage as before. It's like a complete, a complete rebalance of the whole thing.
Expectation-wise, it means that any skill that didn't have a lot of things you could do for it will get more damage. 'Cause that's
Yeah,
what it
that
does.
should be the case. But I mean, even as well, like when we're looking at things like, I sort of mentioned it vaguely before, but like I'm trying to make sure, like we are trying to make sure that like the combos that work early game still work late game, which is kind of another important element of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crossbow's been buffed a lot, and I also heard the other thing that was definitely getting a lot of buffs is Warrior as well.
I mean, we'll see how that looks. I mean,
everything and everything
yeah.
up and everything down. It's so hard to even
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard to have like
Fuck,
a
am I looking
cohesive
at Warrior
message
Huntress?
with the single like this class is better.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's just, I mean, it's easy for mercenary skills or for crossbow skills because
Yeah.
I can look at those numbers and just be like, okay, everything's clearly higher.
Yeah.
But then in others, it's like it's
Well,
it's
that's
too
the thing
easy
with
to
warriors.
say.
Like
yeah.
warrior was like in many cases there was a lot of things that it was actually not bad.
Yeah.
Like it was good in many ways.
But then it didn't have anything that was outrageously broken like how the other classes did. in
Yeah,
the same
and it
way.
didn't gel with all players in many ways as well.
I mean, we've also done balance changes on literally every ascendancy class as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, Pathfinder has like 2
Doubles
extra
armor.
notables and some changes. You've got a new notable on Chronomancer. You've got a changes to like Chrono was way too
Doubles
much
armor
utility
from
stuff.
Chispies.
Like where's just my like good thing, So like
Come on,
you
what
got
do we
like
get?
a good
Where's my
thing.
bonk node?
Yeah, less niche, more something. And then we've just done that on every single class. We've upped a lot of the undertaken or
With my
bad
drug
things, and
notes
we've
out.
downed a lot of the really good, powerful things that were over the top. So
this is why we've gone back to the more conventional patch note cycle of a couple of days beforehand, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look, absolutely.
Like, if they were ready, you would have them. They're not ready because we're not finished, right? Like, and giving someone half
cooking.
the balance changes doesn't allow them to even make educated decisions on
They're
what they're
scared,
going
aren't
to
they?
So it's
They're a
completely
little bit
pointless.
scared,
So
aren't
Yeah,
we'd rather give you everything all at once instead of just some like here's
They're a little bit
you know,
scared.
But even once you have the patch notes, like don't even be under the mistaken illusion that you'll be somehow able to determine what the best builds are from that. Like this, because it's such a big difference.
It's
so many
hard to take
changes,
things
yeah.
into context
is-
because you can look at it and say, oh,
people are
okay,
mad
so
about
like,
early
this thing
access,
got
fuck
buffed,
'em.
but this thing got nerfed. It's like,
Pussy
okay,
bitches.
but you're linking just two things. You're not linking
Yeah.
all of the other things. that
Yeah,
go into it.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's
You're,
very-
We'll try though. We'll try.
Yeah, sure, give it a shot. Do your best.
Look, when the game released,
Yeah.
you had to learn everything. You just might have to do it again
Mm-hmm.
and again. Every single patch every major patch after this,
Yeah,
you're
it's
going
early
to have
access.
to have less and less
It's
of
early
that, and your
access.
familiarity will be able to come in and be useful. So at least from a balance perspective at this
Expect
point, like,
large
it's not like we've
sweeping
structurally
changes.
changed the campaign and all that. So you have still a lot of information and knowledge that is going to help you play the game better
Fast
anyway.
iteration.
On your
Yeah.
second. I mean, a lot of people maybe made multiple characters, but for a lot of people, this might just be their second character.
Yeah.
So they're certainly going to be more equipped. And we've had the races, so you've been able to see how the best people
Oh
play.
yeah. Oh yeah. There's definitely some good tips to learn from there. Oh yeah.
No one watched those. I
that
think.
lever skip with the portal. Oof, beautiful.
What?
my favourite.
I don't know what he's talking about.
On the slightly bigger picture as well, like life and armor versus energy shields. Are you happy with kind of where either of those are
Buff
at? or
life, bro.
What do you
Nerf
hope
yes.
to achieve with them?
Energy shield certainly, I
Get
mean,
nerfed.
primarily due to Grim Feast.
Get nerfed.
And like mana stacking being a little bit out of control.
And evasion's
have been-
so good.
That's been too strong and more the inside of defense for sure. Expect some pretty drastic changes there. As for armor, well, it's one of those like accuracy kind of things, right? Where it's like or dexterity and like where it's like honestly our next point with that is honestly just to get in a room and just be like, all right, let's pretend it didn't exist and we were coming up with the game from scratch and we're like, okay, we have strength. What would we want the ideal defense to be? And honestly, it might even extend further than that. And really just see, firstly, to make sure we end up, if we don't end up at the same point, make sure we end up as better. Maybe we do end up at the same point and we do just go, okay, here are some other changes that we need to make around physical damage in particular or something like that. But it's one of those things where at this point we just need to like review it from literally back to basics and see where we end up, because it might be something completely different, but like it might also end up being relatively the same, and maybe it was the better answer. But either way, it's worth the discussion and worth the time, because it's, I wouldn't say we're happy with it, and I wouldn't say we're necessarily like all the way unhappy with it, but it's there's something not quite right going on for sure.
Hear
You're
me
still
out, chat. Flat
fundamentally
reduction.
questioning some of these things and willing to go
From
back to
armor
the
value.
drawing board on them, which is quite
Always.
interesting.
Half as effective as
this
we
is the
sell
time
them.
to do it.
We drastically
Doesn't
changed
work
how
versus
evasion
chaos.
works, and I would say it's for the better, and we should be exploring that with everything, and so we just need to do that process still. That being said, as we make things
That
more
can be
like
cool.
the shield block better, as we buff the ascendancies or nerf them in on the other defensive arcs. Things like armor will become better, but it's not quite right. But I don't have enough information to say, where it will look, what it will look like in the future. So.
Yeah, okay, cool. So let's talk about recovery as well, because that's another big thing. I remember early on
You don't want too much
ExileCon
recovery.
discussions about the importance of limited recovery in making combat matter, so
Yeah.
that you could have situations where you're attritioned or where like
Killed
the hit that
slowly.
you took matters for the next hit that you take, and just back up the full. But It's pretty good in boss fights, honestly. I feel like recovery is somewhat limited. That still happens a bit, but certainly in clearing, you have access to tons of recovery with cannibalism and things like that.
It's certainly out of control, and it's a little bit of, again, partly due to the fact that kill speed and clear speed just was way higher than we had expected and what we balanced around. And because if we were balancing around what people are currently doing with the upper echelons of builds, you'd have to have effectively every average player and average build just could be completely, it would be useless for them. Now there are ways around that, of course, but part of it is like a lot of the recovery mechanics, like if you're talking about things like on kill and based on damage dealt, it is a rich get richer problem. And so
Life.
yes, there are cases that are problematic, and then there are just
Life, chat.
characters that are too strong. And there's a little bit of both going on. I wouldn't say we've targeted any recovery specifically here, really.
Okay.
Like, it's not been a main goal. I'm not going to say that there aren't little bits changed here and there, but it's more about, we've really made sure to just... It's kind of hard to say exactly what we've done because, again, this is probably a thing we're going to have to look at next time because there are so many changes that it is hard to even, understand how this is going to fit into
Once
all
the
of that
dust
now.
clears, you might be able to see how recovery is looking.
100%. Like, we're at the point where we do need a little bit of all right, we need another round of testing for this because, and again, I'm going to stress it is actually impossible for the amount of changes for us internally to be able to be certain or test all of this.
Yeah, but the vision is still that idea of like more stricter recovery or less powerful recovery than what.
Well, it shouldn't certainly be like here's one little piece and now it's fully solved, right? Like having heaps of recovery should be something you can achieve, but it should require a decent amount of investment or high tier itemization, right? Like for sure
That's a
it
good
should
summary.
be possible. It just shouldn't be trivial.
Yeah. So, and on that note, then for like vision, what's your vision of what Path of Exile 2 is supposed to be? Because I think some people are still like unsure about, is it supposed to be just kind of more like Path of Exile 1, a faster game, or is it supposed to be a slower game, a much more different thing? Like, this is a hard thing to communicate, but it gets asked a lot, and I feel like people are still a bit unsure.
It's funny though because like once again it's not, I don't view it as just a pure speed question. It's about like, is the combat engaging and fun?
Yeah.
And also, are you getting to the point where you never get to engage with bosses? Like if you're never if the first time you fight a boss, you just destroy it without seeing any of its mechanics, then that's a problem. And it doesn't really say anything about the pace of combat. Like if you look at some of the Huntress stuff we've got there, like it's incredibly fast paced when it comes to like dashing around and stuff, but you still have to engage with things, and that's the key element for us. So, like obviously players want to get ridiculously powerful, and we still want to let them get ridiculously powerful. It just has to be earned.
to
It has
earn
to
it.
be, like after a certain point. And like
That's the key.
after you, like once you have finished your character, once you've sort of done everything, then you should be just like like crazy and like beyond the point of all reason. It's just that you have to earn it, you have to get there, right? And like that's the power growth thing. That's like, it's really hard to sort of just like smoothen that out across the whole game, but like that's ultimately the goal, right? You have to kind of get to the point of like that you constantly feel you're getting stronger. You always feel like the next, like, oh, I got this and now I'm better and now I'm better and now I'm better, and you keep on going, and you have to scale that all the way to the end, because the moment that you get to the point where you're just trivializing everything too early, it's like, well, the rest of the game just becomes boring after that point, right?
This is what Chet doesn't understand and what Brett doesn't understand.
Still have to get.
You
And so
say you
kind of
want the
based
game
on,
to
like,
be
this
easy.
earlier discussions about
But you
like,
don't
damage
realize-
and boss time
you
to kill and
don't-
things like that. It sounds like the time where you want that to be starting to taper off, like the players can start to cheat that a bit, is after they've done pinnacle bosses.
Well, you should feel that way multiple times throughout the game. But then later you still then get to a new level of challenge that
You
still
find
requires you
something
to
else.
engage again. Like if we're doing our job correctly, it's like you reach a point of feeling like you're a god, and then you're like, oh shit, but there's new god-like shit above me that then makes me have to then do
I have to find the uber gods.
exactly right. So you have to keep on with that train. And it's actually really hard to take you back from feeling like, oh, I'm all powerful, back down to like I'm feeling, and so you have to kind of get that in there as you
you
go
want that
up.
Dragon Ball anime arc.
Yeah,
There's
for
a
sure,
journey,
right?
bro.
There's
There's
a
always a new
journey.
level of Super
Yeah,
Saiyan
exactly.
after the previous one.
Exactly, right? That's what you have to be able to do. And so, yeah, it's just smoothly taking you up that power level curve, all the way to the end.
Yeah, so I think
I've
like
drawn
when it
the
comes
graph
down to
many
things like
times.
movement speed when clearing, it's about like if you're able to just ignore everything because you're moving so
Yeah,
fast.
exactly. If you're able to ignore everything, then you obviously you will move really fast. If you're not able to ignore everything, suddenly your clear speed is like not as big of a thing. So long as there are still things that are challenging you, as long as you reach the next tier and like everything's harder again, then you're good.
I feel like a difficult like a point of the difficulty here between the communication of this with you guys and some of the people in the community is that I feel like you're not really looking at it in terms of PoE 1 versus 2. You're just trying to answer that question specifically.
Yeah.
So it's not really about like it being like PoE 1 or 2.
Exactly, right? It's just about making the combat good.
It's either the combat is fun or it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of spectrum of stuff there, but I would say that you want to be able to engage with the boss. You want to be able to fight its mechanics and do its skills, and you want to feel like you can overcome those over time and get better, and you want to engage with monsters, and there's probably some people who are like, no, I don't. I want to just press a button and loot drops on the ground, and I don't have to look or do anything. And
well, so that's an interesting point. Is there's this let's say the quote unquote mythical average build is are they able to switch their brain off and watch Netflix on a second monitor only if they're doing like maps 3 levels under what they should be doing or something, or should that be able to happen at kind of like
once,
where they're
once
at
you're at,
normally,
once you're at your tier of godhood?
Yeah,
for
but
that.
I actually want to address that because, like, okay, so I'm watching. Well, okay, right now I'm watching Deep Space Nine, funnily enough, but I'm watching Deep Space Nine as I'm playing, as I'm testing the game, right? It's like you develop a muscle memory, and that muscle memory can include using multiple skills and doing like multiple things, and that's still to me more engaging than just holding down a button. You know?
So
Realistically,
you're
though, it
saying
looks
this
like
like
this,
watching things on the
looks
secondary
like-
thing isn't about the game being easy. It's just a
I want
skill
this.
issue. You need to get.
I wouldn't say that. I'm
to-
just saying that your muscle
Yeah, you
memory
get
can
big
develop from
upgrades.
more than just using a single skill. You just like it, and we've always sort of said that there's this thing where like, okay, sometimes you pause the show, right? Sometimes that happens because you come to a thing that's
this is an update to the classic, second
I
monitor.
love how
Netflix.
this friggin' watching something on the second screen has become such a
I
fundamental
know
part
it's just,
of the.
it's just the community's just grabbed it and it's become a thing forever. But
Well,
it's been updated now. Like this is the update. You want
Well,
you want them to have to pause
It was
sometimes.
a philosophy set for a
because
different
I feel like
game,
I've said that 10 years ago about how like sometimes you get the spike in difficulty.
It'll
Like, oh
haunt you
shit,
forever.
like now you have to do this. But yeah, I guess that turns into pause the video at this point. But yeah, but no, but look, if,
Don't pause the stream. Don't pause the stream.
I
chat.
play this way
Mute
as
it.
well, right? Like it's not like I'm
Just mute the
like
stream.
once you get to a certain point, it's like obviously you're going to want to the music
Or ignore the
heard
stream.
lots of times, like you want to have something
Don't
else
pause
going
the
on.
stream.
That's fine. But I still think that there needs to be
Debatable.
the ability to have to have something engaging from time to time that you have to deal with. So yeah.
It's always been a bit of a silly thing because you've got so much element of choose your own difficulty in Path of Exile, right? Like
Exactly.
do harder maps, do easy
Yeah,
maps.
but look, people always want to choose the hardest stuff, right? So therefore,
Yeah.
that's what they're judging it against.
That's true, you
And
do
so
have to
that's why
account
you
for that.
do need a level of economic gating to make it so that you can't go too far with difficulty without without having to prove the economic stuff on some level, so that you can.
Yeah, you're dying
So
and
you're
losing the
dying,
map.
exactly, you're dying and losing the map. That we have to think. Like all that map sustain stuff is so tricky for that reason. Like
Yeah.
getting that exactly right. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like some big advancements in that regards. So I've got some kind of random tail questions here. Are you planning in the future on, I don't think it's probably happening this time around, but on changing campaign pacing at all? Like, I feel like some of the zones are probably a bit too large and a bit too empty.
I mean, that's more about adding more stuff to them than it is about making them smaller.
Yeah.
Like, there's still a lot more events in campaign that we haven't added yet that
I like that.
still need doing. There's like
Big
big
deck.
lists of things that we never got time to do. So we'll keep on getting to those. and do
The
them.
argument there, which I do believe in, is an area should be able to be large if it has enough interesting things. The
Right.
frequency of interesting things is high or
I mean,
consistent.
the size of an area is completely right. Like, imagine there were no load screens. You just walked from place to place. Like, you wouldn't be thinking about area size exactly. It's just, is the density of interest enough? It's
true.
The fact that there happens to be a load screen between one place and the other is not
Yeah,
really the relevant
long
element.
is directly
Yeah.
proportional to
To-
interesting.
Yeah, exactly, right? So yeah, so to me,
one thing we do need to obviously do, and we have done in some areas, is just making sure that if it is a large area, it's not just interesting things to find as well. It's also making sure there's enough monster variety that way
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not just so repetitive. Of,
yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah, where you've got like almost different biomes. In
there
some
are
areas.
some where I would say the area is large enough, or you're in there long enough such that there isn't enough monster variance, and so
Yeah.
it gets a bit repetitive.
But yeah, it's completely true. Anytime someone says, "Oh, this area is too large," I'm like, "Well, okay. So what monsters are we changing? What events are we adding? That kind of stuff, right? Because that's the way that you change it around. Like, there are areas that are very large that no one complains about because they're stuff.
'Cause they got
to
a
find
lot-
and
they got a
fun
lot
There's
of
things
things
also
and
and
like
stuff to
there
have.
are good. I don't know how many people are gonna play this or how many people stop playing before 011, but worth noting again, like areas have like the fast travel thing now as well
Yeah.
to
It's certainly a big
between
help.
checkpoints and
That to me seems like a band-aid, bro.
there's some of that stuff which I'm hoping again when people start playing from scratch they get to see a lot of the improvements we did
Fast tra-
before as
Yes.
well and see how they feel
And
about
it's
it again.
worth mentioning through campaign, we've got both the wisps and there's also strong boxes as well through campaign.
Yeah.
Like they feel a little bit different. There's just as you play through, you're certainly finding some things you wouldn't have
Shrines
last time.
soon.
couple more
Soon.
shrines.
Yeah,
I don't mind
certainly,
checkpoints so much, actually.
Shrines.
I'm less so
Them
triggered
actually
by
in the
them in
campaign
campaign.
Yeah.
Cool.
More so triggered with them in map.
Ah, it wasn't quite done right or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, it might be a bit weird. The ones in the end game, it works a little bit better narratively, but using that asset throughout the campaign, it would feel real random. So it's just a matter of as soon as the art's done, we'll be chucking those in as well.
Oh, great. So that could be after release.
It'll certainly be shortly after.
But also like every time we do like that we're expecting people to play through again, like we'll probably tweak like which the content spawns at different areas and just like fiddle around a bit so that then you play it just feels a bit fresh and things are going on there.
Yeah, you kind of got me there. I feel like each of the zones I'm trying to think of that like feel like they're way too big is like they're also just coincidentally empty.
Yes.
So I guess that is
That
maybe
one area
perhaps
at the
more
moment,
of an
the
issue.
drowning
the
chicks with the
exact
drowning
same
orbs?
problem happens in maps, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we talked about that. Like the
exact
boring
same
empty
Yeah.
map.
When
problem.
the maps when people say the map's too big, yeah, just not.
I think I
content.
think I phrased it to Jonathan yesterday when we were talking about it as every screen looks the same as every other screen. It wouldn't matter
this
where
is
I'm
the-
standing in the map. It would look.
I think the map you were talking about was Step.
Yeah,
like
that
we were
was-
looking at Step
yes.
and being like, okay, well, what's actually like.
It's a big square.
Yeah, and there's nothing going on in it. And even if there was stuff going on, I mean, like it's funny because like it took us a little while to even come to an understanding of like what needed to change there. Because I'm sort of saying like, okay, well, like and this is very random. So it's like, do you find the cold plains in D2 as to be a boring area because it's ultimately kind of similar? But the answer is, well, there's buildings sometimes, and you get like, there's just like there's just a little more going on in that
Going
way.
back
So
to
like we need to make sure
D2.
that maps feel that way too. when
Yeah.
we're-
Book.
when we're
Yep.
doing them.
That's smart, though.
There has been a few pervasive crashes and issues like that.
Oh
So
god,
how's
yes,
that
yes.
going?
Well, I'll tell you what, the entire engine team have basically been entirely focused on that for 3 months, and it's been horrible because. So I mean, it's kind of a long story, and I don't know if I should go into all of it, but ultimately, the issue is that on NVIDIA cards, the remaining issue at least is that on NVIDIA cards, if you're using a driver that's bigger than I think 560 point something, like basically after that point, the game crashes, and if you install an older driver than that, it doesn't. Like if the crash happens in the in the driver in the GPU. NVIDIA is just like not really much help, and so it's like just trying to nail down what even caused it. It's just so hard when it's like, and the thing that sucks about it is like it won't reproduce on anywhere except production and alpha. And like the moment you look at it, like we can't reproduce it anymore. And yet for some people it happens all the time, and it's just like it's so horrible. And like what we've done, we actually come up with a somewhat ridiculous idea that was now implementing, which we're going into 020 with, by the way, which is that, and this will seem stupid, but like, how about we just don't crash? Which
Tell me about this.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what we do is, what we're now changing it to is that if the GPU driver crashes, what we do is we create a new device and then upload all the textures to that. The game is paused while this is happening, and then it unpauses, and then the game keeps going. And so that is what we're doing to solve this crash. And it's like it's kind of
Jesus.
ridiculous that this has to be the solution.
Let's get
because
over
like
it, I
we like
guess.
it's just mysteriously in the NVIDIA driver we have like. And we have tried to find a workaround for this. It is just like so difficult. So that in 020, that's what will happen. So
While we're here, like, do the players have a workaround? Like,
well,
just to get you done, like-
you can install the driver earlier than.
Sure. What
than
about
560.
the Vulkan? Does that matter? Is it-
Yes. Well, but no, not entirely. It does still happen in Vulkan, but it's a bit unclear about that particular thing about whether or not that's less. But
I figured it might be
no,
a good
it
opportunity
is
if there is a workaround to tell people.
it is in the
Always
driver.
have
But
the driver's
I
check.
mean, yeah, like if you install an older driver, it will go away.
So all of this time when people have been saying the classic armchair developer meme, it was like, why don't you just add a bit of code that says if crash equals false?
Yeah, well, something like
It
that.
works.
Basically do the engineering
They
to
were
allow
right.
us to just recreate the entire GPU context,
Just don't
and then there you go,
crash.
and then don't crash, and that is actually the
Amazing.
solution we're now doing.
W code, bro.
It's like the thing is the other one that sucked though was that stupid damn full system freeze. Because I'll tell you what, if the entire system freezes, there is just nothing you can do to find out what the hell caused it. Because like, there's no like
report.
crash report, there's no logging, there's no literally nothing, right? And it's like that happened. That happened when the Windows November H2 update shipped, and then things just started mysteriously freezing. And my God, that was hard to track down. And you ask Microsoft about it, and they're like, "Oh, we'll look into it," and it's like nothing happens. It's like Jesus Christ, guys! Like it's so annoying.
I can feel your frustration. It's palpable.
It's incredibly frustrating because it's like we want nothing better than to fix this shit. So that one was fixed. Like there was some spinlock implementation that like. I don't have any understanding of why it causes this to happen, but we tweaked it a bit, and now it doesn't happen anymore. And it's like there's no rational reason why this should cause the operating system to freeze. And the thing is, there's not even a good answer at the end. There's not even like, here's what was wrong. It's just like this random particular sequence of operations being done causes your entire system to freeze for no reason after this Windows update. And it's like, well, cool. Like what do you do about that? Like it's just terrible. And so yeah, that one sucked. But basically now, I mean, it's funny because we've fixed so many crashes that weren't the crash. So like general stability, apart from that crash, is incredibly
like
good now.
99% down, probably 99.99%.
And it's like, well, the thing is, we'll fix a crash and we'll be like, oh, maybe this is the crash, and then it fixes like 2% of crashes, and you're like, well, that wasn't the crash, but at least it looks good to fix, right? Like it's so annoying. But as I said, we have a workaround now.
That's good.
That will basically recreate the graphics device if
so you might get a
if it
pause
crashes.
and then
you'll get a pause for 3 seconds and then like roughly depending on the hardware, and then it will continue and the game will pause at the
I obviously just make it clear we don't want it to remain like that. Obviously,
yes. Obviously, we'll still try and fix it, but at least it means you're not crashing. And you're certainly not freezing anymore. That's sorted out. And then we found another one recently, which was like, okay, so this is another stupid one, right? Like so. Anyway, so there's that whole like Intel CPU issue, like on 13th and 14th generation Intel CPUs, where like there's some freaking voltage regulation problem that causes CPUs to break in a certain way. And if that happens, then like the thing that will break is that like the decompressor will like it'll decompress something and like one bit of it will be wrong. Like literally one bit in there, and then it fails like a hash check, and then that just causes the game to crash. And so the fix, like it's like things like that will happen as well. Like you've got stuff like that, and it's like, well, once again, it's like it is our problem. We have to fix it because it's affecting real users. But like the solution to stuff like that, is just so annoying to find. And so yeah. Anyway.
It sounds like you've improved a lot of the unrelated crashes, and you've come up with a good workaround at least. Now, at least for that
hopefully.
One.
But
so that sounds like a massive improvement. But I also just think your obvious frustration is very validating for people who have been frustrated with this.
Exactly. But the thing that's the most annoying about it is that like all these the engine team who are spending time fixing this are then not able to spend time working on performance issues, which is something else that we need to be obviously improving over time. There's been a few performance improvements, but like not nearly the number we would have had if we had all 7 of those people working on performance improvements. That's been the most frustrating thing about it.
Crashes first.
100%. But it's like when they're kind of
we have been chipping away at some decent ones though.
We have.
We got some pretty good performance problems resolved.
Yeah, I mean there was that ice one that was really bad. And, there was things like that. So like the worst offenders we're certainly fixing. But and like I have no doubt by the time we get each time we do a new release, it'll be even better. Yep. Great. But by the time we get a full release, I'm sure
they're deep diving the crashes.
And I mean, speaking of, I know it's like tangential sort of as well. Obviously, we had a lot of woes around the release, but we've done a whole lot of back-end engineering work to make it.
Yes. So the launch should go smoother as far as like all
it was pretty good.
Stuff. It was.
Wow, it still was 5 hours of not good.
Yeah, but 5 hours compared to
no. This time. I mean, look, I'm
standard.
I'm tempting fate here, but like we've made significant improvements to the ability for the realm to handle stuff.
I suppressed that memory.
Well, I mean, we'll see, right? You never know what's going to go
you
wrong. But
sometimes
it should be
get caught out by something random.
It should be much better this time.
I hope you get enough players to stress your theory. That's always a good thing to aim for. We'll just run up with a couple of the random kind of chat questions before we finish up today.
Oh, here we go.
Any possibility of Ascendancy respecs? Is that something you've considered, especially with all the changes going on?
We're sort of not in love with it. It's just one of those things where like I feel like it's key to the identity of the character, and like respecing like the journey of the character like it does get pretty significantly compromised if you allow for that. But I know Mark is especially strongly feeling
Yeah,
about it.
I mean, the answer's going to be the exact same as last time, which is like, I don't know exactly, or I don't know how to articulate exactly why I feel so strongly about this, and so do a lot of the team members. Of like, again, it's just that your choices should matter, and
Permanence.
you know, it's obviously something that I was okay with in PoE 1, and so there is probably a world where I will be okay, but there's got to be some level of work involved to achieve it that isn't to just pay a little bit of gold and then you're done or whatever. Like, I want to find a way to do it if we're going to do it in a way that is like
gonna
grounded
That's an
and,
interesting idea.
and difficult to well not I wouldn't say difficult, but like requires some actual work
Renounce
to do
your
it.
vows.
So that would be the compromise I'd certainly be
Quest.
willing to explore, which I have been thinking about recently because I know every single time we come to an expansion it's going to come up. So
The trial of respect.
A legendary
or
quest.
something.
yeah,
And it delevels to 20
there'll be
levels.
something where your
lose-
character has to undergo some sort of challenge or something to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I know you could argue, well, doing the trial is that, and you're
Gotta
not
make some
entirely wrong, but
sacrifices.
something a bit more.
Sacrifice a few
so
animals,
I'm
a few thousand
sure-
enemies.
I'm sure we'll have a conclusive decision, or at least a level of articulation, one way or the other, by the end of early access.
Alright.
But for now,
I'll ask you then.
yeah, it's just going to take me a bit more time to figure out what I want to do there.
Is dynamic switching between keyboard and mouse and controller coming at all?
It's not in 020, but it will be coming.
It's on its way.
Yes, so
We're
waiting for that for my
I'm
game
really
claw.
hoping by 030, we should be able to get that. That is a very key feature.
I want concurrent.
It seems like it's going to be hard to juice loot
Mouse
to
controller.
loot juice maps with only one portal. Oh no, well, this question has already been answered. Well, actually no, because there's
No,
still one
this-
portal.
No, this is a concern,
that's
and we
true,
have to do
it's
something
juice,
about
so
it.
we have to
Yes,
figure
we
it
have
out,
to figure it out.
My
yeah.
bad,
So
yeah.
in the next week, we will actually be looking into this one.
There's a few problems around
point.
it
Yeah.
still that other things to come up, like
Yep.
you know, you also don't want it to be that if you did use your one portal, because it's your portal that's used, not everyone's portal that's used. Because when it says
That's actually
one
a good point.
portal,
Yeah, it's a
that's
good point we
one
didn't
portal
I think we
for
mentioned
up
that.
to 6 players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when it's 6 portals, it's 6 portals for up to 6 players, which means technically
I'm so
it's 36 entries and exits out of the map, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Group cuts,
like
bro.
that changes things in a way where it's
Group
like when
cuts.
it's down to 1, it's like you don't want it to be that,
Non-hardcore
I failed the
pussies.
map. Quick, Ziggy, come join my party, get in here and finish it for me. You know, you don't want to kind of have that style of
Snapshots, maybe.
play happening. So there is still some things we need to figure out with this.
Imagine
'cause
having
it's
friends, bro.
going to
Yeah.
promote some what I would probably classify as degenerate behavior,
Uh-huh,
as well as the fact that you're probably like, oh, my inventory's full, zone out. Oh, what the? Okay, sweet. And sure, you can add a warning, but I don't know if even restricting it to just one inventory of loot like that is good, right? I would personally prefer that it's one death, not one, entry. So there's some stuff we need to figure out, but again, Jonathan and I need to talk about that and actually solve that. So
That's interesting, yeah, because the death seems like the important part. So as long as there's not like a way to cheat it, it seems like almost like you'd want to allow people to come and go as they please until they die, right?
yep, which is a potential solution.
Yeah.
But again,
Opportunity
can't
cost.
say for sure.
How many times
but
have
yeah,
we-
100%.
I agree
That
with that.
person is right for bringing that up.
More
and,
agencies
it
are
is
the
on
real
our
issue.
radar for this coming week to have,
Yeah.
or weekend as well, to have a solution for.
Yeah. So with this new league not having a specific like league mechanic, is it still a challenge league? Does it still have challenges?
It's actually
No,
I
there's
didn't think
there's no
so.
achievements or challenges
Yeah,
yet.
I'm pretty sure we weren't going to do that for a little bit yet.
These
but-
are, there's not really,
it's
maybe
early access.
later in early access, but for now, not really.
Yeah.
We're just trying to keep it more about
Make
the
the
game
game.
and the mechanics and less about,
Make the game first.
the achievements. And the achievements will certainly, an achievement system and stuff like that will certainly be there with the full release, and we'll reintegrate all of that at the time.
Is there any plans for stash tab expansions, like for example, rune storage?
Oh, 100%.
Especially with more
Yeah,
runes.
Right now, I'm actually trying to at least add the affinity without adding a custom tab.
Oh,
Those
good.
two things appeared from the implementation standpoint, so
Yeah.
I want to try and divorce them so we can have affinities without
we
it.
Oh, yeah.
wanted to get those in this patch, but
Good lord.
unfortunately they
Yeah.
just didn't
How
quite
hard
make it.
is
So
it to
like,
make a fucking
I mean, it's
tab?
actually quite likely to come in sometime.
Well,
how is
like,
it
like
not,
in a
like,
point
one
release
guy makes
after,
it?
like
Yeah.
like within the 020.
As soon as the patch is out and stable and
Right.
we're
Yeah,
on
yeah,
top
yeah.
of things, it's going to be like, all right, we need to get all
Is it
those
not
like
just a
UX or
database
quality
entry,
of life
like-
things that we blatantly missed out on.
How is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
hard?
Yeah, I think
For
that-
example, like being able to add bookmarks to your atlas and
Yep,
write
that's,
the name.
that is one
That
that,
is
we,
something
we
we are-
designed some stuff for it. We just haven't got
Yeah,
it yet.
cool.
I want to say it's
yeah.
like 80% implemented right now.
Yeah.
Book
So,
marks.
it'll be soon as we can. We'll get
Just
that.
code it, bro.
That is excellent. And on that note, we'll wrap things up today. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you very much for coming.
And thank everyone
Love
for
it.
watching.
Thanks for having me here. Great time. Thank you very much, everyone. And I'm Ziggy D, and thanks for watching.
Yo, GG's. Hey, that was pretty good. Yeah, guys. Bro, that whole tab affinity thing. Okay, look. Oh, we can't make this tab into item affinity. Oh, fuck, it's so hard. Bro, you get the fucking one tab that's a fragment tab. You get the cup. You control C the database entry, whatever the fuck. Control V it down the line on the code. And you modify the item ID tags. And you say rune 1, rune 2, rune 3. And then it's done. Then you get you pay an artist and you say, look, this tab's got this many slots and these are the items. Just make the art for this. And you get the UI guy to be like, okay, make the UI positioning for that. And then you just put it in the game. You just put it in the game. Am I crazy? MMORPG.com. Bro, how did you get this? How did they get this already? Okay, when you consume a power charge, infuse, whip charge. Yeah, okay, so 2 fire infusion, endurance charge. Okay, yeah, makes sense, makes sense. 50% chance for infusion to be not consumed when infusing a projectile. 20% movement speed when an enemy opens. Wait, 20% increased movement speed while an enemy with open weakness is in your presence. 40% skill speed while an enemy with open weakness is in your presence. Ooh. Ooh. So that's like that weird zone on the HP bar. Attacks using your weapons have added physical damage equal to 25% of accuracy rating on the weapon. That's kind of crazy, right? That's kind of fucking crazy. Accuracy? Wait, how much accuracy can you get in a fucking weapon? I mean, that's interesting. Reveal weakness. I mean, could that be a part of my bleed build? Oh, shit. There we go, it's over. Chance to hit with attacks can exceed 100%. Gain additional crit chance equal to 25%. This is too potent. This is too potent. No. Oh, this music's also... How much have a look at this? Okay, chance to hit with attacks can exceed 100%. Gain additional crit chance equal to 25% of excess chance to hit with attacks. That's also kind of crazy. Gain additional critical hit chance equal to 25% of excess chance to hit with attacks. Okay, so wait. You get to like 110%. So then you got 10. And that's by 0.25. So then you got 2.5 base crit. Alright, so if you get to like 150% chance to hit. Right? Yeah, I mean, so then you get to like 50 by 2.5, right? And then you get 12.5 base crit. So you basically can get crit cap if you invest in accuracy enough. That's the TLDR. You get enough accuracy, and then wait, so you get crit cap, and then you also get a bunch of flat if you go to the next point. If you get accuracy on the weapon itself. I mean, base crit. I assume it's base crit. I mean, it'd be complete trash otherwise, right? Or it could just be gain additional. I think it's gain additional crit hit chance. That's gonna be base, right? That's got to be base. There's no way. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. I think it'd likely be base based on the way I'm reading it. Because it's really hard to get hit chance, bro. Like, and it also depends on the monster you're fighting. So if a monster's like evasive or something, fuck. With 12% increased crit, it's fucking shit. Yeah. Life leech recovers based on your elemental damage as well as physical damage. There you go. That's like, there's basically no sources of that shit in the game. Evasion rating for equipped helmet, gloves, and boots is doubled. The evasion rating from equipped body armor is halved. Huh? Huh? Wait, what the fuck is this? I'll just look at it in a second. Shut up. Close that down as well. Oh, bro. What the fuck? Click. Don't pause. 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 Don't play. Don't play. I'm trying to read. What do we get here? Where's the big one? This is the big one. Life flasks also recover mana. Mana flasks also recover life. Fuck that. Yeah, I like this little fork right here. This fork here is quite fun. Like, crit cap, you get all this flat fizz, whilst also having a high attack rate. And then you get to itemize your weapon differently than you otherwise would normally. Yeah. Okay, pretty neat. Pretty neat. I didn't get a drop, I want a refund. What do you mean you didn't get a drop? How'd you not get a fucking drop, pussy? Did you watch during the fucking... Dude, it's fucking still going, you dumb pussy-ass bitch. It's still going. Goes until, 8 a.m. Friday, March 28th. How long does it go for? Watch for 2 hours. Who got it easy? You should have it by now, but then I don't know if people are, like, just off. I don't want to cuck you guys. Who's just off? Are you guys just off? And you've seen this in a press kit. Oh shit. Okay, so this is a press kit right here. Okay, so we'll just have a look at these. We'll have a look at. Let's do a little deep dive here. Let me unpause it. Tada. I will have less useless stuff to do absolutely nothing with. So shut up, chat. Shut up.
What are you looking for in the announcement, my lil bro?
What are you even on about?
Quinbone chatter login.
Bro, come on, man. You really gonna make me open this in a new tab for every single one of them?
Po2 hype login.
Wait, is that really not working?
Po2 tenths.
Bro, what? Who the fuck designed this? Who the fuck designed
Hello
this?
chat,
Whatever,
my name is Quin69, I'm somewhat of a scientist. Today we are gonna do an experiment on slowing down time, so I'm gonna react to this 13-minute video for 2 hours. And then we're gonna speed up time and make the rest of the gameplay take 13 minutes.
Bro, holy shit, what the hell's this?
Pog.
Okay.
Bitch.
You're a bitch.
Yo.
Yo. Getting coffee?
Po2 bad bask. This game is dog shit, yep. Quinn is the coffee guy. Up bitch, get your pog champs ready. Ready to spear bleed build Z DPS next week. 2. Hi Quan.
Yo!
Quinn, you are so hot, like boiling water, cause you make my noodles soft. Meme. Missed you, I am back from prison, let's go. Login.
I can't hold it in!
So you don't have a job at all, you just make coffee. You have a job, obviously. Yeah. But I mean...
bitch.
Dono, please. Can we please skip it?
2.
Can it be skipped? Oh, no, never mind.
Thanks to @Mainunara for my sub gift.
Yo, chat, you know what I noticed, by the way?
22 months with the dog tamer cozy streamer pog.
I was like, you know, looking at the presenters sitting there doing this, right? And bro, no joke. My leg feels freakish. I've been doing like a 20-kilometer bike ride every day and just biking up every hill that I can see. And I'm not even kidding. My leg just feels so rock hard. And dude, the whole thing, it just feels like, it feels freakish. It feels freakish. Like, it feels like, why is it so hard? Normally it's kind of floppy. I'm not tensing. I'm not even tensing. And it's just like pure muscle. It's like almost like a hardened tumor, which is kind of fucking, you know, should I be worried that this thing is this hard and this big? And even down here, bro. Even down here is just huge. Huge. This is not even part of my leg. What is this? I've just been biking too much. I don't know what to tell you. Don't bike too much, guys. Your legs just get huge. Has anyone else got that problem? I don't know what to tell you. Is that bike cancer? Do you know what? Do you know what I figured out, chat? Is I've been doing all this shit. I've been doing all these, like, you know, I've been doing keto, doing all this stuff. And what I realized is you could just do, like, if you just do a 25-kilometer bike ride every day, you could just eat whatever the fuck you want. And you just get jacked. You just get jacked. I've been eating nachos every day, bro. It's been sick. And then you just fucking, you know, I'm just getting jacked as fuck. Just biking. That's how it works. Okay, where are we? Blood boil. Okay, cool. But we don't know what that does. Interesting. Bro, why does it... I'd rather not see the small nodes. Sacrifice can be used on yourself to remove 20% of maximum life to gain a random monster modifier. A maximum of 1 monster modifier can be granted this way. That's kind of cool because it works for bossing. Okay. Grants a ritual sacrifice, but you're only going to get 1. So you're going to get 1 buff. I mean, those monster modifiers better be strong as fuck. They better be strong as fuck. And then how long is that shit going to last for? I mean, they did say that they buffed the fuck out of them, right? So I guess. Can instead consume 25% of maximum mana to trigger charms with insufficient charges. Oh, that's kind of cool. A charm, full-on charm build. That seems like you could abuse the fuck out of it for something, right? +1 charm slot, 20% more charm charges game. Dude, the Charm King. What? There was unique charms, chat. We saw there was unique charms, so... I don't know. 5% increased life recovery rate per 5% missing recovery rate. Like, okay, 5% increase.
Oh, too bad.
So if you have 80% missing
WTFF
life...
poop emoji, cummies.
No, it's not right. But it's 16. Oh, no. You just get... Then you'll have 80% recovery rate. It's just 1-to-1. So if you're missing 80% life, you get 80% more recovery.
2.
So when you're like 99.9% dead...
I just bought a house. All I had to do was buy a house.
What?
Cock.
What? What is...
Cucking myself for far too long.
Zach TTSing? I don't even know.
Take when why they call you the throat goat. Po to yawn.
Dude, this one is crazy, bro. Bro, this one's crazy, actually. Wait, reduce maximum mana. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, what? You had to pick a bad thing. Wait, you gotta pick a bad thing, bro. You gotta reduce either your mana, your spirit, or your all res. That's kind of weird. Oh, fuck. That's kind of weird. I mean, this is nothing, though. Really. Minus 15 auras is irrelevant. That's so easy to fix, right? Like, you just... That's
Hey,
just like...
Quinn, I joke a sick joke for you. What's the difference between Jesus and a hooker? Pause. The look on their face when you nail them? Applaud.
Okay. 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 All right. Okay. All right. Where are we? +1 ring slot. That's crazy. This is so cool, actually. I love that you, like, spec into a thing and then
All is free with a third ring.
And then you slot in, like, you get you can, like, create a slot to equip an item again. That's fucking cool. This is fun. This is a fun one. And then you've got a negative thing. You have to pick a bad thing on your ascendancy. That's cool. 25% increased bonuses from encrypt. So that not only... So you've got another one as well. 25% bonuses from rings and amulets. Think about it. You got 25 times 3. But actually, you've got an amulet. So it's actually 25 times 4. Right? So it's like you're getting another ring again. Right? It's like you're getting another ring again. Think about it. Think about it. It's 2 extra items equipped on your character. So if you... Thing is, to make this good, you had to have really good rings, though, and good amulets. This is more of a trade league build. But it's going to be so strong. Ingenuity. Yeah, is that the one that increases the effect of your shit again? What does it, how does it say? Yeah, Ingenuity is going to be completely bonkered. What does it do? It makes your rings more effective or something, right? Ingenuity. Yeah. I never got one. This is like some trade league cuck item that everyone's using. Yeah, 80% increased bonuses from equipped rings. Yo, that's going to be so broken, dude. That's going to be so broken. 3 rings, dude. Oh, my God. With that. Oh, fuck. And you can corrupt to more than 100%. Yeah, that's going to be ridiculous. Okay, yeah, this ascendancy is going to be broken with that. Yep. Okay, cool. Cool. It's a fun one. Okay, what do we got here? This fucking jewel. Okay, can socket one non-unique basic jewel. 100% increased effect of socketed jewels. 50% more mana cost if you have an energy shield. Is that even that good, actually? It was weird when they showed it on the screen. It was like, like a bunch of stuff on there. Well, don't get me wrong. A jewel socket can be like 10% damage, right? You can get a jewel that's 10% damage. So it doubles. Now it's 20% damage, right? Now it's 20% damage. Right? So now you're 20% damage. So then it's like ascendancy point really is. Like if an ascendancy point gives you 20% damage, it's a pretty good ascendancy point. What's like 2 jewel sockets? Yeah. But then it's got a downside. I don't know. Why does it have a downside? See, to me, when I look at this, even if it didn't have the downside, I'd be like, that's kind of mid. Right? I don't know, man. It's weird. It looked really cool whenever they showed it, but I didn't actually read it. I figured it was like 300% of your jewel or 400%. I thought it was like a bunch of jewels, you know? Well, you can for sure ignore the downside, but the downside's not even really a downside. The downside's not even really a downside. What it is like, I feel like this needs to be buffed. Personally. I think it doubles every jewel. I don't think it does, no. Oh, maybe it could. I mean, that would be insanely broken if it did, though. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. If it doubled every duel, that's like a fucking... Yeah, I don't believe... We'll have to see. I mean, that seems ridiculous if that's the case. That seems ridiculous if that's the case. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, okay. 30% increase in shield if you consume power charge recently. Non-channeling spells consume power charges, deal 25% more damage. Non-channeling spells consume power charges to deal 25% more damage. Okay, more damage if it consumes power charge. 10% of damage taken bypass energy shield. No inherent mana regeneration. Regenerate mana equal to 6% of maximum life per second. Oh, interesting. Interesting. The recent PO2 video looks like it implies it's only for that duel. Yeah, that's how I read it. Your life cannot change while you have energy shield. What? Wait, that seems broken. Wait, what if you had just insane energy shield recovery? So then, wait, doesn't that mean you can never be one-shot? Huh? Wait, what does that mean cannot change? Wait, if I have 2 ES and I have 50 life and I get hit for like 10,000 damage, what happens? Do I just die? Or does it be like, oh, I had a ES, so my life can't change? Or does like that same instance of damage reduce my energy shield to 0 and then kill me? Surely it does that, right? I mean, otherwise it's going to be jank as fuck. It must just mean like, oh, you can't die to degens and stuff while you got ES. So like if you have a, I mean, I don't know. The fuck? Just mean to cast it. Yeah. You can't take cast damage. You take 10%. Yeah, so wait, you just stack bypass mechanics. You stack bypass mechanics. Right? And then you go with this. But then wait, how the fuck does that work? It still is confusing. I'm thinking one instance of a large hit can simultaneously remove the ES and clap your cheeks. It has to be, right? It must be up to one-shot you still through. Yeah, otherwise it's completely broken. Like it just means you could have like infinite EHP technically, which is not viable to put in the game. It means you could never be one shot, which is stupid. It must just work like that, except you can still get one shot. It's good to know life. Yeah. Very cool though. That's a fun one. This is a fun node. I love ones like that where it's a ascendancy node. It's a single line, but it allows you to completely change the way you build your character. This is very interesting. This allows you to use a lot of weird bypass mechanics and like do a lot of weird shit. Yeah, if you split the damage you take, like if you for example, if you say take damage as chaos. Right? But then you... Oh, wait a minute. In PoE 2, doesn't the cast damage, like, not bypass? I think in PoE 2 it doesn't bypass. It just does double damage. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, there's going to be ways of doing bypass, right? There's other sources of this that are in the game, right? And you just seek those out. Combined with this, it's going to be fucking nutty. Curse enemies killed by you or allies in your presence have a 33% chance to explode. I think a quarter of the classic, bro. It's the classic explode. Human allies in your presence have unholy might when you are not on low mana. Lose 5% of mana per second. Oh, wow. There you go. Unholy might. Permanent uptime. Non-channeling spells cost an additional 3% of maximum energy shield. Non-channeling spells deal 30% more damage. Spinning your shield does not interrupt recharge. Okay. 25% increase the area of effect of curses. A little small node. You can apply additional curse. Your curse is a fan effect. Curse rate for enemies. 4% increase magnitude of unholy might buffs you grant per 100 maximum mana. Oh wow, so you can have like full chaos build for minions. If you wanted. That's pretty nuts. This could go pretty hard. Let's go hard. You could scale that shit up big time. Now, how good is it? I need to look at the default Holy Might. Where are we? Oh, yeah. Holy Might is a buff that grants 30% of all damage is extra cast damage. Yeah, that's going to be crazy. How much mana can you get realistically, chat? How much mana can you get realistically? Like, what's a realistic amount of mana? 20k? Wait, that sounds ridiculous. $800%, so times 9. 30 times 9. 270% of damage as extra chaos. There's no way. There's no way. That's fucking. That's insane. 34k after patch, probably. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's no way. That's completely broken. If you get 20k mana, that's completely broken. So, yeah. Okay, this is interesting. What the fuck? This is what I'm interested to see because this guy seems kind of fun. Okay, modifiers to max and fire res also grant max cold and lightning res. Yo, that's fucking strong. What? Okay. Modifiers to fire res also grant cold and lightning res. So this is like cheap. This is just chieftain. But you have to invest 2 points for that, which is kind of nuts. Grant skill manifest weapons. Grant skill temple weapon. Grants skill fire spell on hit. Okay. So this is like the new chieftain then. Okay. Can only use a normal body count. Wait. This passive skill is free to allocate. Huh? You just get it? Well, you just get it as a ascending. So when you ascend, you just get it. That's how it works. Or do you have to use points to expect these? Maybe you get 2. So maybe it's 2 points. Oh, I think I see how it works. So you just get this if you want. And then if you want to invest 2 points, so it's like the one that you normally like a travel node and a node, right? You can go 1, 2. Or 3, 4. Or 5, 6. Wait, could you go all... Could you do all 8 points? Just do like an insane body armor and that's your entire ascendancy? Wait, what is that? Body armor grants armor... Wait, body armor grants armor. Also applies to cast damage taken from hits. Okay, whatever. Body armor grants 100% increased stun threshold. Okay, whatever. Setting up chorus, bedge. I mean, don't wrong. I say bedge, but that's a huge amount of suffix. But that's half an ascendancy point. You got to look at it like this. Each thing you get is half an ascendancy point. So if you're getting 75% per... No, it's more than that, though, isn't it, though? Because you're losing a body armor. It's not really good, chat. What? Okay. Yes, it's if you can get 75% res per point as half an ascendancy point, that's good, right? But you got to remember, you're taking the trade-off of you're losing 3 suffixes and 3 prefixes and an implicit and the local armor and local defenses. So it's a huge trade-off. I think you need more than just a suffix. You need like some nutty shit. So there better be some nutty shit here. Body armor grants unaffected by ignite, bedge. This obviously can be strong if you need to be permanently igniting yourself or something. Like, this can be a good node to have for some builds. 15% life. Okay. See, now you're cooking. You got a body armor that says 15% life and 20% strength. That's something. Now you're cooking. Yo, who's this? What are you doing, Zach? Huh? What are you doing? No.
You're not after pie?
No.
Dude, I thought you were back on the carbs.
I'm not eating pie, Zach. I'm not eating pie. What is Zach doing? Oh my god,
Friggin'
bro!
bacon and
What
eggs
is?
your favorite, my man.
I don't, bro. What the fuck? Wait, he
Friggin'
get,
bacon and egg pie, baby.
bro. That is. I'm eating nachos. I'm on a nachos diet. I'm eating nachos
Yeah,
every
dude,
day.
forget the nachos, though. Look at this bad boy, bro. Fitzy's freaking bacon and egg is your favorite, bro. Give it a little sniff. Give that a little sniff, bro. You're gonna love that.
It smells like cardboard, bro.
Huh?
I mean, wait. I'll tell you what. I might eat half the pie. I'll eat half the pie. I'll
surely.
eat half the pie.
I'll eat the other half.
I'll
We
eat-
do a Lady in the Tramp.
I'll eat half the pie.
Yeah, we do a Lady in the Tramp. We eat half and meet halfway.
Bro, that's H3 is gonna go everywhere if I do
Tracy's
that.
gonna go, yeah, I'll do a little vacuum, man.
No,
We'll do a little
I don't know.
vacuum.
That's kind of gay as well, bro. Okay, it's kind of gay to eat the pie
That's
like
nice,
that.
though. And can I hold your calf while we're doing it?
But,
Bro, let's see it. I want to see it. Let me see
no,
it.
so I was just sitting like this. I was wait.
Wait, can we get a zoom in on the calf? I want to see this.
No, I don't think anyone can hear what Zach's saying. I don't know if anyone. We are just looking at POE as soon as he knows. But yeah, I was sitting here like this, Zach, with my leg up, but you guys can't see. But trust me. Wait, how about this?
Yeah, dude, let me see that.
Yeah, like this. I was sitting here like this, and then I just felt my calf was just huge.
Whoa! It's freaking rock solid, bro.
Oh, what?
That's rock solid, baby.
Bro, feel that put a unit.
Dude. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Oh. Dude, that's...
Yeah, even the lower part. Feel the lower part, bro. Feels lower part, bro.
Dude, your Achilles ankle, bro.
Bro, feel that lower part.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Even at the front, there's muscle in the front, bro. It's not even.
Dude,
you
what
can't-
the heck?
You can't even touch the bone.
Bro, Posse Vibes, Quinn is way too powerful, man.
But you can't even touch. You cannot touch the bone
There
because
is no bone there, man.
it's just covered by muscle.
Dude, the thing is, I thought your legs were thick before, and now you've started biking.
I do. I started biking, man.
You got those thunder... like, normally people have thunder thighs. You got thunder calves, brother.
Oh my god.
You got thunder calves, but man. They're looking fine. They're looking good. I couldn't resist. I had to...
By the way, the
come over.
water softens in, Zach,
I know. I'm excited.
and you can actually make a coffee. And
So I don't need to make...
what the fuck have you got that for? What is going on? We're reading Pee-wee passive tree notes right now, and I was gonna kill bone mass. I was gonna kill bone mass, which is another spoiler for you.
Yeah, I'm excited
Do you know what?
for
Do you know?
bone-
Do you know what bone mass is?
What's the wall scenario in the bone mass situation?
Wait, do you know what bone mass is?
Bone mass. Oh yeah, I know what bone mass is. In Valheim, when you fill up a full chest of bone fragments, you are therefore at bone mass.
Wait, how many bosses have you killed?
In Valheim,
Yeah, Valheim.
dude, have you beaten Elder? You've beaten Elder.
I've beaten Elder.
I'm not up to Elder yet, but I'm Meadows. I'm doing Meadows because I saw what you were doing in the Meadows, and you were there for like weeks, and I've played twice. So I was like, I got to spend more time in the Meadows.
Wait, are you actually
I'm really
playing
working out
Valheim, or
what's-
is he joking?
I gotta work out what's
Oh
happening in the
my
Meadows,
God.
my bro. Like I'm like, as in like Quinn's spent so long in here, there has to be like some secret little like, is there like a dungeon or something that I gotta find? Because every time I log in, you're in the Meadows. So I figured.
Wait,
I should
are
stay
you
in the
playing
Meadows,
Valheim
and
or
we're
not?
like,
I'm
huh?
confused. Are you actually playing? I was told to play Valheim. I don't know that I was baited, but it's like Zach's playing Valheim. That's what I heard was the case. But
Yeah. I pop off in Valheim, bro. Are you kidding me?
oh my god, oh my god.
Dude, get a bite of that pie. Oh,
Where's my-
also, I came to bless you. The other day when we were mountain biking, because we mountain bike all the time now, bro. Because you're freaking.
I'm down to go mountain biking, like
Dude.
not today, probably
Yeah,
tomorrow,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm my
So we do a little trip down to Wellington, a little bit of mountain biking. Now that we're mountain bike boys. Anyways, we were talking about how Freddy86, your old oiler, has become my new oiler. And that you.
No,
are
I said that
and
Freddy
that you
86
are
was
upset about
unhinged.
that,
No,
and
I did
that-
not say that.
and that
I was worried that Freddy 86 was going too crazy because he's always there. He's a bit like
Oh, you're protecting me.
I'm trying to help you.
From the oil, you're trying to help me from the only income I have. Wait, what?
Oh my god, dude, where's this guy now?
But anyways, Freddie and I talked about. I just wanted to say I'm sorry to steal your oiler. Your oiler's still your oiler, bro. Like, you can enjoy a little bit of oil from my boy, Freddie. Like, this is for you, my bro. This is straight from Freddie, straight to you, my brother.
How many gifted subs did Freddie just do?
Dude, he's oiling you up, man.
Dude, Freddie just gifted 25 subs.
Freddie also paid for the bacon and egg pie, so it would be quite rude of you not to accept that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, we gotta
Wait,
do
I'm down to eat like half the pie.
Yeah, dude, we can Lady in the Tramp. As I said, I'm happy to do that. That would be... Dude, do I have to do the posture thing as well? Is that what we're doing now?
What's this?
Chemist teacher.
Okay. There we go. Now they can hear. I just felt super, like, you know.
Oh yeah,
Because I can't hear you properly, bro.
Dude, I also wanted to thank you for your sponsorship on my channel and that you let me borrow your DJI. It's freaking fantastic.
I saw you were doing the Zoomer thing where, like I said, you should do. Like, you put it on the hat.
Oh, yeah. That's Zoomer tech, bro.
That Zoomer tech, bro. The TikTok tech. So
Okay,
you super excited to read these? Because I'm in the middle of reading these.
I can read them out for you while you eat your pie. And then you can react.
Well, I mean, no, I need to. Okay, wait.
Well, as in, you struggle with reading, and that's why
I don't struggle with reading.
If the bro struggles with reading, I step in and I help the bro. I got you.
Okay, just read the one that's on the cursor. Okay.
Okay, yeah. All right. So this could be lead lining. It could be lead lining. It could also be liard lining. Now, so what liard lining does is body armor grants plus 75% to lightning resistance. That's crazy. Isn't that nuts?
Okay. Who's on there?
Leather bindings. Body armor grants regenerate 5% of life per second.
Is that the wrong voice for PoE stuff?
It's a little bit too hardcore, bro. We need to get through these, okay?
Okay.
Body armor grants regenerate 5% of life per second.
Is it better? Deeper. I can't go deeper than that. I'll try. If you want me to go deeper, bro, I'll go deeper. Okay, fine.
Internal layer. Body armor grants hits against you body armor grants hits against you have 50.
That's bad. I feel like I'm dyslexic now. Sitting next to you for honestly 1 minute, I've become dyslexic. I can't read that. Can you have a try on that one?
Body armor grants hits against you have 50% reduced critical damage bonus.
It's
formulaic. So it's written that way because it works in a very specific way.
Written for you. By you? Oh, Jonathan.
It's like a math formula. It's just like algebra, except like the X, critical damage. They're all keywords.
Yeah. Okay. Hits plural. Yeah, by the way, Jonathan called me when I was on the way over, and he said that he wanted to thank you for fixing the coding of the game and telling him how, he was like thankful that you worked out how to solve the issue with the extra tab. He's like, thanks, bro. I never thought to, because the copy paste. He's like, I didn't realize we could copy paste the code down. Down the code. He's like, that's a genius, because he was manually typing it all out. And then he's like, and then you gave him the suggestion of the copy paste. He's like, oh my gosh, like he just like, and he's like, and then yeah, it was insane, bro. He was like, you saved them like I think a month of development.
Yeah, exactly. There's Control Z, Control V, bro.
No. He said. So no, Control Z is probably going to delete the last thing they did. It's Control C is the, or X. He could cut paste.
Well, I need to stop eating the pie, bro.
Yeah, how's it going for you?
This is like it's mid.
Mid. There you go. Swap.
No, have
a bite of a real pie.
Wait, okay.
It's mid.
Okay. Well, you can try. You can if you want the other half, you can have the half.
Yeah, but you have to have a bite of that. Surely, steak and cheese. That's a New Zealand classic.
Wait, you mean no, bro?
Please have a bite.
No.
I want your first pie experience to be freaking something that's mid.
Is that was just a mid pie, bro?
Okay, I'll tell you why it's a mid pie. Let's talk through it. This is a mid pie because bacon and egg pie is not a pie. It's a quiche. You're buying a quiche. As in, I know what your favorite is, but your favorite is wrong. And I'm just give this one bite.
No, steak and egg is good. I like that. That would be more flavorful.
Steak and egg is more flavorful.
Steak and cheese.
Right, so you chose the incorrect pie, is what has happened here. But look at that fat, that globular piece of delight.
By the way, all my kids is like fucking spewing everywhere. Apparently, like I could have some gastrointestinal thing that's gonna like fucking. She could be totally getting sick right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Should we go down for a visit?
No.
Oh, but they're all home.
A couple of them are.
Oh, damn.
They're just fucking spewing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, just leave it. Yeah, so that could happen. All right, so okay, so crit reduction, cool, whatever. 25% of physical damage from taken as fight, pretty OP. 5 max race. Obviously, a lot of synergy here. I genuinely don't know if this chess piece of shit is worth it. Because of the fact that you lose the whole chess piece. I feel like you'd have to commit almost, you need 4 points to make it. It's not free. It's not free. Okay? Because you lose your body armor. And you have to use the synergy points to get the nodes that give it power. You dumb fucks. You have a white body armor.
But I'm learning from the best. So what you do is what? If you see one comment, you associate that with the whole chat. Is that the trick?
Yeah, you read the message and then you talk to them about it. I mean,
So if someone says something that you don't like, just yell out that, okay, yep, keep going.
Okay, so wait, you're forced to take this. No, I don't think you're forced to take it. I think you start at this. I think you start at this little diamond. I'm pretty sure you start at the diamond. You can choose this if you want to choose this. Otherwise, you could just not choose this. You can easily corrupt nobody armors until you get something good. True. I mean, yeah, true. I don't know. I mean, I like this ascendancy quite a lot. I think it's pretty cool. I might even play this guy. Depending on what the manifest weapon, temple weapon, depending on how these read, perhaps. We got one more to look at.
I'm excited. You want to read it for you again.
We have one more to look
Where
at.
do I read from and rotate what way?
This is the top.
And what sort of voice are you after?
Bro, your normal voice, bro.
Like British?
Just normal, just like Zach voice?
Oh, Zach voice. Oh, wait, can you play a Zach TTS so I can remember how it goes?
No, bro.
Stay light. Use cover. Defend with 200% of armor. Enemies have an accuracy penalty against you based on distance. Maximum evade chance is 50%. Maximum physical damage reduction is 50%.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool. So it hard caps all your DR, but then it means you're going to be super consistently at 50% evasion with 50% with the giga armor reduction. So it means you could like, it's good versus bosses. This is good versus bosses. Bad for mapping though. Bad for mapping. Although I don't think people are going to take that. Let's be real.
You can't dual spec in PoE, can you? Like you can like.
You can respec these nodes.
Oh right. So pop out a few and pop them back in and cost an arm and a leg.
Not that much, honestly. But yeah, a decent amount, like a significant amount, but not too much. I get like a few maps. Okay.
Polish that gear. Gains 100% of armor as extra stun threshold. Gain 100% of evasion rating as extra ailment threshold.
I mean, this is kind of nice. Makes you hardly ever get stunned, makes you hardly ever get ailments. But, I mean, I don't know what the maths are like that after all the changes. This might be good because they nerfed it. They nerfed ailment threshold super hard in this patch. Okay, supporting fire. We got supporting fire up here.
You're going to have to take this one.
We'll just read here. Summon a hidden artillery squad trailing you. They can fire volleys of arrows on command. The artillery squad counts as your minions. Minions from a skill of 1% increased accuracy rating per 3% of your dex. Minions from a skill of 1% increased damage per 3 of your strength. So it's like a stat stacking minion build. That's kind of cool.
What's like how much strength would you have on average? Like at some point in the game? Like mid-game?
Like 900 or something, maybe?
Oh, diggity damn!
Wait, 900? Is it 900?
3 of your strength.
Actually, in PoE 2, I don't even know.
No shot. Maybe you would, because you stack strength.
Didn't I have like 500 in the SSF? Am I tripping?
So Quinn comes in with 900 strength and no damage, or no dex.
No, insane damage.
Oh,
insane
right.
damage. This is cool, bro.
Does bleed scale off strength?
Totems, no. Depends. Depends on how you're scaling. Strength is just life by default, pretty much. Totems have 30% more skill speed. Totems, Totems only use skills when you fire an attack projectile. Oh shit, that's pretty fun. So it's like that node, which makes it it's like the support gem. Like in PoE 1. Yeah, it's focus fire. Okay, we got spirit here. What is this? Projectile damage builds up pin.
What's pin?
It's like a root basically. So you just root them and so you pinned enemies cannot perform actions.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be broken for mapping. Because it means everything gets rooted and then pinned enemies cannot perform actions. So, but the thing is, you probably can't pin a boss, right? Because if you could, that'd be completely fucking stupid.
There's no way.
You can't pin bosses.
There's no way. Impossible.
Yo, chat, Valheim today. I was planning on killing Bowmass, but I think we've run out of time, boys. And I mean, it is what it is.
Oh, so my guess was actually pretty good.
What do you mean you guess?
I guessed that it was part of Valheim, Bone Mass.
Yeah, it's a boss. It's a boss in Valheim.
Well, that's freaking exciting, bro. But this is also very exciting.
I mean, I'm just looking at the new nodes, man. But it's obviously not. I mean, if you don't understand it, it's going to be just.
I understand it now. With you explaining it, bro,
God.
everything becomes instantly clear. Like I feel like I misunderstood the game until watching you for this 10 minutes.
Okay. All right. Persistent buffs have 50% less reservation. That's pretty good. 50% less reservation cost. Allies in your presence gain added attack damage equal to 25% of your main weapons. Fuck that. You can have multiple banners, bitch. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think the only thing I like about this is the fact that you can get pin stun. Like, depending on how broken that is. If everything in the game just can't fight back, well then, I mean, that's going to be really, really stupid. And then maybe this is okay. All around, this is I'm least excited for this Ascendancy out of all of them.
What's the name of it? The Ascendancy? Does it have a cool name, at least?
The artillery guy or something? Don't know. What's he called, chat? Tactician.
Are you going to lose subs if you don't beat the boss today?
Nah. Well, that obviously I couldn't predict. Unless there's some unforeseen thing where.
So wait, if you make a promise.
Okay, no.
And like something comes up,
I was gonna die.
You don't have to do it, right?
No, I was going to do Bone Mass or die, right? That's it.
Either Bone Mass dies tomorrow, or I give 200 subs. You know what? I'm actually gonna buff it. You watch out, I'm gonna buff it.
So wait, if you say something, you don't actually have to do it.
250 subs.
If I die. Yeah, if I die. That's the whole thing. If I die.
Bone Mass tomorrow? Or
No, you said Bone Mass
subs?
tomorrow or. Like, as in. So wait, you can just move the goalpost.
Wait. Let me just
move the
let me just
goalpost.
move this. Let me just check this out. Let me just fucking get the speed up.
250 subs.
Yeah, it's hard to listen. You do talk a bit slow.
Bone Mass tomorrow or 250 get subs? That obviously means I die, right? I'm assuming that I die, right? Like, the only way I do not kill Bone Mass tomorrow is so it's gonna be Bone Mass, and then you know where we're going, boys. Get your wolf emojis ready, okay? Get your wolf emojis ready because it's gonna be going the fuck down. Sure, brothers, have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, and it was like even a clip.
Say
on
about
the
that.
King of Polish. So it's like next level. Like
it was like, or I die. It was the whole thing. But then there was a part of Exile thing that I didn't know about, and I had to watch that, and it took fucking 4 hours.
Do you have multiple of those shirts, or do you just always wear that one?
No, I do have multiple.
Ah.
I just grab and whatever shirt that I've worn recently gets put in the washing basket rotation. So I'm more likely to wear a shirt that I've just worn recently because I will put.
Oh, because you get it from the top of the washing basket rotation.
Yeah, blanket it out and take it out. And
oh, so you washed it yesterday? Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, do you know what? I'm gonna kill my mess then.
Let's do it, bro.
Well, I can't just log in and kill it. I have to get turnips. I have to get turnips. Yo, I gotta get turnips, bro.
Obviously.
What the fuck, man? I gotta get turnips, bro. What the hell?
Isn't this because you need a get your ball jabs ready moment, right?
Hey, Quinny boy, I contacted the Guinness Book of Records on your behalf. Congratulations on winning the longest time spent in the meadow.